Hello, everyone. Welcome live to 3YTV tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series from the Michigan International Speedway, where we have tonight's Lightspeed Technology's 240 brought to you by Mr. Moondog88 himself. We'll be getting a quick word with Michael Mooney here in just a brief moment, but I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth, as always, is Drew Eisenman. And Drew, here tonight at Michigan, we're going to see a lot of wide-open trucks, at least early in the run before those tires start to wear just a little bit. Definitely looking a little bit like a mini super speedway out there.
Yeah, it really is kind of a mini version of kind of maybe what we saw last night a little bit in the race that I participated in here in NSRA. But it's definitely going to change as these runs develop. These guys are going to have to start lifting later on in the runs. But yeah, I think for the first probably at least 10 laps, these guys are going to be more or less flat, and it's going to look like a little mini restrictor plate race out there.
And it seems like we're having some connection issues with YouTube here, folks. We're going to see if we can stop the stream, restart it, and see if we can get things in a right way. I'm getting some bad connection with YouTube. We will be right back. All right, well, folks, we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully, we get everything sorted out prior to the event. No, we're still not getting a good connection with YouTube, so let's try again. Sometimes you have to kind of do this a couple times, and we'll try again, and we will see if we can get a good connection. All right, folks, I do apologize for that. I'm just keeping my eyes on the analytics here on our side. It just seems like we're just not getting a good connection with the server here tonight. If things continue to be this way, we will sort things out. We'll try the alternate YouTube ingest server, but we are going to try and get a word with Michael Mooney here after qualifying does wrap up. Because speaking of qualifying, we're now over in the qualifying session. And before we talk about qualifying here, Drew, of course, we are in the Simbox Chase for the championship. And right there on your screen, we're one race in, and James Lorello was able to get that win and already out to an 8-point lead, Drew. That is pretty big for the man who's now won 6 times this season.
Yeah, an exceptional result last week for James Lorello, and just kind of continued that momentum that he's carried ever since the earliest part of the season. And he's definitely proven himself to be the guy to beat in this championship. And, we do have some races coming up. I think tonight is going to be one that we might see some interesting results just due to the nature of the track. Obviously, Talladega, we got some short tracks coming up. So James Lorello did what he needed to do last week, has proven time and again the amount of pace that he has. But we have some curveballs coming up here, Peter, that pace isn't really going to be super relevant, and it's going to be how does he weather those storms, and what is that championship picture looking like coming out of those tracks?
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see. We'll bring up the qualifying times there. There's the number 88 machine of Michael Mooney. We'll see whether or not he can get a lap in. We wanted to get a quick word with him, and maybe we still will because, of course, tonight is the Lightspeed Technology's 240 here as we jump into the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Shootout. One of these drivers will walk away with the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award here in just a little bit. And looks like the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman currently atop the board, with the 26 of JT Poole was in second before a group of drivers there just jumping up onto the board, including Ben Izenga and the 07 machine sliding there into second. But Drew, I'm not all too concerned with qualifying here tonight with the way this track was looking like in practice a little while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree to a certain extent. I would say that you really don't want to be between 10th and 30th. You either want to be in that top 10 or you want to be pretty far back. I think it is going to be a little tricky to pass here because of the way that these trucks are going to race. You're not going to be able to carry the high line particularly well, especially once these tires wear. And it's going to be hard to make ground up on people and make your way through the pack. At least that's what I anticipate. I absolutely could be proven wrong. It wouldn't be the first time here at broadcasting the Simbox Truck Series that I have been or would have been. But I think it is going to be a little tricky because guys are going to be all over the track. Guys aren't going to be getting, aren't going to be giving each other a ton of room. I don't anticipate. It's a wide track, but from what I saw in practice, guys were basically from the apron all the way up to the wall. And then when there's a wall of trucks in front of you, it's going to limit what you can do. You can cost yourself momentum by getting out of the gas. Momentum is everything here. So I would agree to a certain extent, but I certainly would want to be one of those guys, like, quite frankly, James Lorello, once again, as we stand right now, qualifying second with Andrew Himmelman is our current provisional pole sitter. But, I would want to be one of those guys, rather than the alternative.
Yeah, that is for sure. We'll definitely see how exactly everything plays out here in just a little bit as we ride on board with Michael Mooney in the number 88 machine, trying to pick things up on lap number 2, currently 20th on the board as we speak. Lap number 2 is going to come in, and that's going to move him up just a couple of slots, now up to 19th with a 40.230. But Drew, we were talking about the fact that this racetrack kind of racing a little bit like a super speedway. Andrew Himmelman, he's less than 0.2 of a second faster than the 20th place Michael Mooney right now. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on with a lot of compression throughout the field. In fact, the number 88 machine right there of Michael Mooney, let's see if he pulls off the racetrack and see if we can get a quick word with him here before we jump over into the race. But at least for right now, Andrew Himmelman on the provisional Sim Racing Shirts pole for now, as you see the 88 machine coming down. And, one thing I was just talking to him before the race, he says, you know what, I can hit my pit box. I'm not Chris Darling, and we've been giving Chris Darling a lot of hard time over the past week or so. And Michael Mooney here says, you know what, I can get my pit box, and we'll see if he can do so right here. Still slowly coming down to try and find his pit crew. And looks like he's going to do so. Let's make sure that he can hold true to his word. And we'll get a quick word with him. Just got to find out where he is as he goes into his pit box right there. Let's drag him on in here. Michael Mooney, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth very quickly. Unfortunately, had a little bit of connection issues, had to cut things short. But first off, tell us a little bit about the sponsor for tonight's race and what you're expecting to see out there.
I am expecting to see, to start with, a lot of green laps, a lot of green flag. The RC Cola Lightspeed Technology Hooter truck is doing fine, and Lightspeed Technologies is actually my internet provider, and we are happy to use them. They are really great for the area, all the way from the owners down, Scott, Chris, Andrew, Carabo, Nate, and I'm missing the 2 other guys that I don't run into very often, but that's the whole crew. Wonderful people. If you're in Northeast Ohio, especially Stark Summit and Portage counties, look them up. Use their internet, business internet. Wonderful. They've even supplied internet to ESPN too for the Hall of Fame game.
Well, that is definitely a fantastic thing, and great to have them on board here tonight. Best of luck here, Michael. Hopefully we can check in with you at some point as well a little bit later on in the race, but we'll let you get to it as we send you back to your Discord channel, and I believe you were in Revolution Motorsports. Is that correct? No, you were in Silent Syndicate.
I was hiding down there tonight, but the Old Guy Racing team is represented tonight.
So what? I should move you to the Revolution Motorsports channel?
No, the Silent Syndicate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Just want to make sure you're with the right people, because you know what, folks? If you're not with the right people, it can definitely be really annoying for these drivers. We've had that happen before. But Drew, the number 4 machine, Andrew Himmelman, starting on the pole here tonight.
Yeah, an outstanding job by Andrew Himmelman, who wins the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award. An outstanding qualifying effort as we are queuing this grid here, Peter. And a nice view of the trucks as they kind of sit on pit road at that little bit of an angle. Andrew Himmelman, our pole sitter, James Lorello, will be starting in second position. Mitchell Adams, who had that great recovery late in the race, will be starting in P3 with Bill Edwards, our second place finisher last week, second place in points. He will be starting in fourth position. Chris Darling, will he get a kazoo? Will he not? We shall see on pit road later on. That 47 truck will be starting in P5. Jordan Shepler in that 13 truck will be starting sixth. Gerald Baker III will be starting seventh with TJ Buck, another chase driver, to his outside in eighth position. Ben, and I already apologize if I screw up your name, Izenga, right? Ben Izenga in the 07 truck, he will be starting in ninth, and Jeff Price in that 14 truck, another chase driver, will round out our top 10.
And in row number 6, Jason Freeman and Nathan Maurer, 11th and 12th. Ben Adams, Joshua Sobel make up row number 7. Row number 8, JT Poole, Matt Vander Kooi. Row number 9, Robert Dudley, Doug Milliner. Row number 10, rounding out your top 20, they're Colin Ullery and Philip Scott. Drew.
Michael Mooney will start in 21st, Adam Dama in 22nd, Barry Knapp in the 42 truck in 23rd, Doug Neal in 24th, Travis White 25th, Ben Mashburn 26th, Jason Grassi is 27th, Monty Glover in 28th, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., another chase driver, in 29th, Jamar Dumas in 30th, Stephen Doziak 31st, Brian Bradley 32nd, Garrett Gleason in 33rd, Justin White and Ray Heilig will round out our field in 34th and 35th.
That is the field here tonight as we get set to go green for 125 laps, 250 miles here in tonight's Lightspeed Technologies 250 at Michigan International Speedway as we race off into turn number 1 for the first time. And Drew, this track is going to look a lot different here very, very quickly as you see everyone start to fan out as they get their way through turn number 1 and 2.
Yeah, this is probably the one track outside of the actual super speedway tracks where it probably wouldn't be beneficial to get an exceptional restart and get a little bit away from these guys, because I don't think it's really going to help you in the long term, as this is exactly what we expected. 2-3 wide throughout the field, quasi super speedway race going on here tonight, folks. But up front, I guess the top 12-ish, Peter, have kind of broken away from this kind of second pack that's formed, as we are seeing now, with Himmelman through, I want to say that is that black truck, who is that's Jason Freeman in the 94, two-time winner this season. So basically the top 10 have separated themselves by just about a second from the rest of the field here, Peter, and that's not something that I was really expecting.
Yeah, but we're early days here at Michigan International Speedway. I'm sure if we start to see some people start to pull away, like what we're seeing right now as we ride on board with Jason Freeman there right around the 9th position, I would think that the draft will allow them to catch back up. We just kind of have to wait and see until them to kind of come all back together as we get a look at the field racing their way off through turn number 1 and 2. Definitely some great camera angles brought to you by Sim TV here tonight, and also big shout out to Lightspeed Technologies, as well as Simbox, the series sponsor here in the Simbox Truck Series. Make sure you go check them out for all of your button box needs, because great quality product for a fantastic price. You're not going to beat the prices that Simbox has for their button boxes here in iRacing, so definitely going to be a fantastic purchase if you are in that realm. Meanwhile, let's look at the chase scene. TJ Buck, right now the highest placed chase driver, running right behind your race leader of Andrew Himmelman. Himmelman so far has led 2 laps. Lorello was able to lead 1 of the first 3 laps here tonight in that number 9 machine as they race down the backstretch once again. And like you said, Drew, that front 10 or so with the number 5 machine kind of there at the back, that is Ben Adams there in 12th, kind of broke away as of right now, but a long race here tonight. But one thing I heard from Michael Mooney is he's expecting a lot of green flag running here tonight, Drew, which, would be very, very good to see here with all this tight pack racing. It will be good to get a lot of that green flag running in.
And I think that one of two things could happen. Number one, I think cautions are going to breed cautions here. If there are cautions, I do anticipate seeing 1 or 2 others as a result of that, just because of how close of a proximity these guys racing for the first few laps, because they're totally flat. It's basically just a tinier version of Daytona at that point. but it's as the run gets on, these guys know that it's going to be more critical to maintain their track position. So it's probably going to lead to a little bit more defensive driving from some of these guys, right? Restrictor plate racing, you can really get caught out by swings and momentum. And I think these guys, that they know that, hey, come lap 10 in this run, come lap 15 in this run, I need to establish my position. I can't afford to slide back, because once these tires start falling off, I'm going to kind of be where I'm at, and it's going to be a lot harder to pass. It's going to be a lot harder to get back up to where I think I'm going to be. So we'll see if that's the case. I'm also looking for guys to save their tires a little bit here. I think that could be really beneficial. The guys that are really hauling the mail right now are probably going to burn up their stuff a little quickly, as we have a replay queued up for you guys. What are we going to look at here, Peter?
This is on board with one of your chase drivers, Ben Adams, as he smacks the outside wall there coming out of turn number 2. And you and I know, Drew, here tonight at this racetrack, you're going to want to keep your truck as clean as you can, as we're now on board with Ben Adams. You see him dropping all the way back to 17th, and he was there around 12th position not all too long ago. So with a little bit of damage on that car now, we'll have to see how that affects him. But it could be a long night for the number 5 NSRA Chevrolet Silverado as he works his way off into the corner. Just kind of see a little bit of that damage on that right front.
Yeah, basically the whole right side's pretty scuffed up. The nose is a little dented. That 5 is really struggling right now to maintain speed. He's several miles an hour down relative to the rest of the field, and you just see guys are just streaming by him on the outside. So, yeah, I originally, when I saw that, I'm like, well, he hit pretty flush. That shouldn't be too bad. But looking at his speeds that he's carrying now, it is certainly far from ideal. But TJ Buck is in an ideal position right now. That 84 truck, our leader, started down in 8th. So you kind of mentioned, Peter, that starting position isn't going to be crucial. And maybe I pushed back a little bit, but I think that you were probably right in as far as you don't need to be the leader here, right? This isn't Watkins Glen or like Road America or one of those especially road courses with these cars or trucks, rather, that you really need a great qualifying effort to have a real chance at a win here. TJ Buck, I mean, of our top 5, almost, well, I guess the top 2 started outside of our top 5. The other 3 drivers in our top 5 started within the top 5, but we've seen our 3rd place driver, Mitchell Adams, slide back to 8th. We've seen our 4th place qualifier, Bill Edwards, he slid back to 9th. So we're seeing a little bit of maneuvering throughout the field here, but early in the race thus far, and now James Lorello looking to take the race lead back.
Yeah, Lorello up at the front of the field. Let's jump up there. Oh, the 4 machine of Himmelman's going around on the front stretch, and he's going to be off the racing surface. It will bring out a caution. Caution flag number 1 here tonight for the man who sat on the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award just a little while ago. Let's see if we can see how this happened from high atop the blimp cam, because I don't think we're going to be able to get a great shot of it. He's running right there with the 47 of Darling, and just 2 trucks coming together. Not quite sure if there was much in that one, Drew, but at least for Himmelman, doesn't look like any damage on that number 4 Chevrolet. Just might have an ego hurt a little bit. Definitely going to be hurt in the track position game, but at least for now, it looks like he will live to fight another day. That is for sure here at Michigan International Speedway. We have seen the number 07 of Ben Izenga also have some issue. He qualified inside the top 10, and he is now well back in the field, being scored 33rd right now. Justin White in the 2 machine and Ray Heilig, both of those drivers weren't even able to really turn a lap, and there goes Ray Heilig, and there is Ray Heilig. He disappears and he comes back just like that. But everyone is going to be headed down pit road here to come down, get fuel and tires, that is for sure. Because, Drew, I was just about to mention the fact that we probably were starting to see maybe a little bit of tire wear on some of the trucks, and we started to see a little bit more single file, but there were, TJ Buck shoots through his pit box, and we got to see the 47 machine. Chris Darling there actually hit his pit box for once, so that's always good to see. But who's going to win the race off pit road? I would put my money on that man right there, the number 9 machine of Lorello, and he is down and away and will come out of pit road as the race leader right in front of Jordan Shepler. So, Drew, 1 for 1 so far for Chris Darling.
it's good to see that. I managed to pull a Chris Darling last night here in the NSRA Super Speedway Series, which was on 3-Wide TV last night. So I managed to completely butcher my entry onto pit road. So I can relate to the troubles that Chris Darling has experienced as of late. But a good clean stop for that 47 truck will put him in third position, which is I think about where I think. If everything would have gone right, that's about where he thinks he probably would have been running, starting fifth position. I definitely anticipate Chris, if he just has a clean race, he has shown so much speed throughout the season. He's just got to really cut these mistakes out, Peter.
Yeah, that is for sure currently running in third. I don't think he would have got any damage from that contact as well. Folks, if you, of course, are a regular watcher here in the Simbox Truck Series, you would know that one person is not actually in the field here tonight that we typically see, and that is, of course, the number 24 machine of Ben Mashburn. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Ben Mashburn as he's down there on pit road. Hey, Ben Mashburn, Peter Short here in the 3-Wide TV booth. I know you're down there on pit road. I know you've been in communication with the number 47 machine of Chris Darling. Any indication of any damage on that 47 Toyota Tundra?
It doesn't seem, he didn't think like he had too much, so I think he'll be all right up there. Hopefully I can get up there to him.
What have you been hearing down there on pit road about the way these trucks are driving here tonight? Of course, up here in the booth, we're kind of saying this is like a mini Daytona with at least the way they were there in the first 10 laps or so. Is that kind of what you've been hearing as well?
Kind of seems like it. Everybody seems to be kind of full throttle. It depends. And if seems like you go full throttle too much or get a little tight, a little bit quicker, but seems like you almost have to go full throttle just to keep up.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting race here today. Any thoughts of the keys to the race from your perspective and on getting to the checkered flag first?
Survive. It seems like a lot. Seems like that's a lot lately. Just survive. Be around the last till the end. Seems like there's been a few incidents in there and take out a few guys. So you really just want to make it to the end and just give yourself a chance.
All right, well, Ben, we'll let you get back to it as we're about to go back green and put the headset on for the number 47 machine of Chris Darling.
All right, thanks, Peter.
Yep, good luck, guys. So that's the number the number 24 machine, Ben Mashburn, not in the race here tonight, but we are back green here at Michigan International Speedway, and James Lorello drew monster of a restart. Already got about 4 truck lengths on that side-by-side battle now for second.
Interesting to see if we kind of see what we typically witness at a super speeder race, which is you get too good of a restart as the race leader. Those guys will eat you up within about a lap or so. Here in Michigan, a little bit different, right? You're in the corners a lot longer here in the grade state that's in the shape of a glove. There's a lot more friction that these trucks are going through because they're just under load for so long. These are really kind of wide, long corners with pretty relatively short straightaways in comparison. So I think the draft certainly is going to keep these guys grouped together, but I don't think you're going to see the runs that you definitely will witness next week at Talladega. But we are seeing that 9 truck slowly being reeled in as we're looking further back in the pack. The 84, TJ Buck, who really struggled on pit road. I think Josh Sobel's back there, the 44, Philip Scott. And this is kind of the eye of the storm, or the eye wall of the storm, maybe, so to speak. A little chaotic back here in that 84. We saw that mistake on pit road. He was one of those guys at the very tip of the field coming in, and we saw just what that kind of that mistake can do is a little bit of that net code smoke, which can certainly freak other drivers out. I love the scheme on that 44, that kind of spectrum deal going on. But Josh Sobel and that 30 truck, maybe not quite running where he has been as of late. But again, this is a totally different track. But the 30 truck, we just kind of come to expect him to run towards the front here as of late because that 30's just been in such good form lately. But back up front, that 47 of Chris Darling taking the race lead away, maybe temporarily from the 9 of James Lorello, as Darling now looking to grab some laps led.
Yeah, that number 47 machine gonna pick up at least 1 lap lead with the number 13 of Jordan Schepler. Schepler really diving it off into turn number 1. Oh, the 47 and the 50's going around behind him. My, oh my, did they save it? They saved it. What They're still trying to wreck back there. Jeff Price and Josh Sobel had a little bit of let's go now. Let's stay live with this one. We'll go back and catch that one on the replay there in just a minute because they're 3 wide going off into turn number 3 and 4. This might not be done yet, folks, but that was absolutely wild just about a lap ago. We'll go back and catch the replay because we almost had a couple of our chase drivers here wadded up. Here we are on board with the number 50 of Edwards. There's the contact between the 47 and then the 50 went for a slide. And then I think they went for a slide back behind him. Jeff Price, one of your chase drivers as well, going for a big slide. Let's get one more look at that. Just to see how that all went down from the 14's perspective. Mitchell Adams back behind him. Mitchell Adams, one of the chase drivers as well. Look at the 84 machine. And meanwhile, back live, caution flag has come out. And oh no, we got a couple of cars around on the backstretch, including Colin Ullery. Let's see what brought out this yellow while we were watching that last replay.
Yeah, it looks like the 42 and I want to say the 07 got into each other. And yeah, you see Ullery just kind of a victim of where he was running on the track. The 16 truck started sliding down the track, and unfortunately that 62 nowhere to go. So yeah, you see that 42 of Barry Knapp. I think he just comes down a little bit off of that outside wall, and then the 07 has nowhere to go. The 16, the 28 looks like he gets a chunk of it. I think that's the 60 perhaps. Quite a few trucks involved and quite a few engine smokes, unfortunately, for some of those drivers. The 33 it looks like terminal damage there for another chase driver and Jeffrey Johnson Jr.
Yeah, that definitely does not look good for him. And Colin Ullery right there, one of those. There we go. That's a good look at one of those chase drivers in that number 62 machine. So it could be day done for both of them. Let's see if we can go on board with the number 62 of Ullery. You'll see the contact probably about 8 cars up in front. Man, even Adam Dama there in the number 82 might have been rubbing off the corner. And oh man, Ullery tried to avoid it, and then out of nowhere, the 16 of Bradley came down the racetrack, and that is heavy contact. Let's see if we can go back and see exactly what happened with the number 82 machine, because I think there might have been some additional contact between the 82 and the 07 machine. It was really tight. Here we go. Let's see if we can see this from the blimp cam. It looked really tight right there. No, they definitely stayed off of each other. Of course, Adam Dama in the U.S. Army eSports racing machine. And then, luckily for Dama, all of that madness happening behind him. There's the 84 there of TJ Buck. So definitely not exactly what you want to see at this point here, Drew. And we talk about the big one at the super speedway races, as it looks like Chris Darling was able to come down pit road and not miss his pit box. So that's 2 for 2 here tonight. Although, you know what, folks? Let's dial up a replay. I was all about to give Chris Darling a kazoo, but you know what? This is not going to be a kazoo, folks. I have bad news for the person with the kazoo in hand, because watch this, Drew. Coming down pit road, here's the number 47 machine. He's looking for his pit box. He has a new pit sign this week, and he just decides, nope. You know what? Nope. I'm not going to pit. I think that's the ultimate overshooting your pit box, as he just comes back out there on the racetrack and. I'll tell you what, that's exactly not what you want to have happen. And looks like Darling in the chat. We go back live, and Chris Darling is now trying to save fuel by drafting the pace truck, it appears. Not quite sure what the Stanley number 47 machine is exactly doing out there on the racetrack. He might not even know. But you know what? Chris Darling is your race leader when we go back green here in a lap. And what about Michael Mooney, one of the drivers who is presenting tonight's race with Lightspeed Technologies here in the Lightspeed Technologies 250. He'll be starting on Darling's outside here in just about a lap. So definitely going to be an interesting one. Ben Izenga saying, loving the netcode here tonight. Yeah, definitely there appeared to be a little bit of netcode involved in that one. That is for sure. And definitely not what you want to see here on a track like this. And Drew, you know what? for some of our chase drivers, including drivers like the 49 machine of Mitchell Adams. I think the number 50 even of Bill Edwards. There's Bill. But I know Mitchell Adams has some damage. You can see just a little bit of front end damage. It's not been the start for some of these chase drivers that they were hoping for.
Yeah, we talked about that. This is kind of a sleeper track that could cause a little bit of chaos, and we've seen that with Colin Ullery. The 49 of Mitchell Adams, this is really not what he needed. You know, he did have a decent recovery last week, but he did lose quite a few points to James Lorello, whose truck actually does have just a tiny bit of rear damage as I'm looking at his rear spoiler. I don't think anything too bad, nothing like what that 47 and some of those other drivers unfortunately have. As we are back to green here at Michigan. That 47 gets a great restart, but it's going to be interesting to see how that 47 fares with these older tires.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Of course, he was last on pit road about 11 laps ago, and all these cars behind him will have more fuel than he does, but clean air on the nose. You and I know, Drew, on a track like this, clean air can be important. I know the cars behind, like Philip Scott right here, has a little bit of draft, but if you're on older tires, that little bit extra downforce that you get by having clean air on the nose can be the difference to kind of hold station, if you will. As now Philip Scott there going down below the white line. That is legal here at this racetrack, so we've got to keep an eye on other people doing that. Meanwhile, Michael Mooney has slid back into the 5th position from that 2nd spot on the restart, but Philip Scott here still trying to go for the race lead and try and pick up his first lap lead here tonight.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the guys behind him are looking for, right? James Lorello, JT Poole, a bunch of other drivers, when the leaders are racing side by side, gives a huge, huge hole in that air to those guys behind him. As now we see that 26 truck all on the outside trying to make a move on Chris Darling, carry that momentum on that high lane. And I think he's going to do it in lead lap 22 here at Michigan as Nathan Maurer dives down low. And now the whole field, it seems, another wreck. Andrew Himmelman to the high side. Oh, another caution.
And let's see if we can go back and break that one down. That happened a little bit further back. We saw that smoke going down. I think Ben Mashburn, who we had a quick chat with, let's roll the tape. That number 24 machine, was he involved? No, it happened in front. It was a 23 machine, actually. And Mashburn able to smash his way on through without any damage. That's the good news. Let's see exactly what happened to the 23 truck, because that's about where it happened. The number 98 there going up through the middle there. 3 wide. Oh, net code with the 6 machine of Milliner, one of your playoff drivers. And it looks like Travis White there. Drew, that looked like a bad instance of net code. We'll see if we can get that one maybe from our blimp cam here tonight and slow this down, because the number 98 is going up through the middle right there. And it looked like Milliner and the 98 kind of net coded together. Somehow Milliner was able to keep the 6 machine going straight, but unfortunately for the number 98 of Jason Gracias, definitely getting the bad end of the stick. Same thing with the number 23 machine. Look at that number 98 going almost up and over. And I think that's why you said, Drew, is, Jason Freeman barely scooting on through. I think that's why you said it was the 4 of Himmelman, because as you can see, the 4 and the 98, very similar paint schemes here tonight on both of those trucks.
Yeah, my apologies to those Drew Himmelman fans out there. I didn't realize that there were 2 trucks with that 4 scheme. We've just seen the 4 up front for so much this race that I just kind of assumed that scheme would have been him. But not luckily for the 4 truck, our pole sitter, it is not. But unfortunately for that 98 truck, I think his competitive days are just about done. But we're seeing some guys stay out on pit road, some guys coming in, some guys staying out. I think with the number of guys coming down pit road, I imagine one of them has to be, the guy who missed his pit box last time, Chris Darling. Hopefully he'll have a little bit better luck now, but I think this was darn near a must for this 47 truck, given his fuel mileage and everything. And a clear shot into his pit box, and it still doesn't work out. Chris, you got to get on the brakes a little harder there, bud.
You cannot script this, folks. We have been watching the 47 machine so closely on these pit stops, and we put so much pressure. I think we're probably putting too much pressure on him here, Drew, getting in his pit box, because there again, Second time tonight, in 3 attempts, he's had issues finding his pit crew. And he even has a new pit sign this week that tells him to stop at the pit sign. So, Tana Himmelman in the chat saying, womp, 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 womp. Yeah, that's sad trombone, that is for sure. And I even queued up the kazoo. Oh, that's, well, we'll see if we can get the kazoo next time, folks. Tana Himmelman also saying, hashtag pit responsibly. Yeah. Hashtag pit responsibly. That needs to be on the bumper of that number 47 machine. It needs to be on his dashboard, for goodness sakes, next week. Anyway, hopefully everything's going well. We might be having a little... Let me know if you're having a little bit of hiccups, folks, in the chat with the stream. I don't know why. Everything looks good on my end, but I'm also monitoring the stream, and some hiccups. I don't know why. Yeah, King Crop VOD saying... Was really looking for a kazoo. Maybe next time. Everything is on the 47 machine. Don't get upset with me. Get upset with the 47 machine for now. Colin Ullery saying, what strategy are you playing at, Chris? Ben Izenga in the chat as well. Rich Sobel in the chat saying, no issues here. That's good news, Rich. Thanks for letting me know. Let's check in with the number 30 machine of Josh Sobel. There he is. Been having a real resurgence here at this last 5 or so races in that Stay Tuned Sports Toyota Tundra, and here tonight just outside the top 10 as things currently stand in the Lightspeed Technologies 250. Jason Gracia saying F in the chat. The Windsor saying looks good here, good to know. Who else we got hanging out in the chat with us here on 3 Wide TV? We've got Stay Tuned Sports saying, man, that's some hard hits in that first accident. Yeah, definitely going to be a couple of banged up drivers. Will Warser joined us in the chat saying Lorello's up front again. Yeah, you're his good luck charm there, Will, so I'm sure he's going to start paying you to be in the chat here on these 3 Wide TV broadcasts. So we thank all of you for joining in here tonight as the Pace Truck lights are off. Yes, folks, we have a Pace Truck here tonight for the Simbox Truck Series. And make sure you check out Simbox as well. There's a link in the description to their Facebook page. And speaking of Simbox, you see that number 971 machine of Nathan Maurer there inside the top 3. Got Simbox emblazoned all over that Chevy Silverado as the green flag waves once again, Drew.
Yeah, a great restart for that 26 truck. James Lorello on that high lane looking to stay up there as well. But, yeah, we see this on these restarts. We see this field kind of spread apart, and then we're going to see them really bunch back together here. But I think that we are seeing kind of a smattering of some damaged trucks throughout the field. I'm looking at really that 49 truck of Mitchell Adams, whose damage seems to be much worse than I originally thought. That front end is fairly dilapidated on that 49 truck. That's certainly not going to help his quest for a championship in this chase format. But you see kind of spread out a little bit here, Peter. But I anticipate that kind of cording effect, right? You stretch that thing out on the restarts, and then that energy builds and builds and builds as these guys get up to speed, and it's all going to kind of slam back down on itself. As now we're already starting to see that kind of happen as the 26 is having his mirror full. JT Poole, our current race leader, but for how long? As the 971 of Nathan Maurer, the 9 of James Lorello, the 44 of Philip Scott, all starting to close in on him, but racing each other side by side. That's not going to help them close that gap to that 26 truck.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm also keeping my eyes on the 47 machine of Chris Darling. He's already up to 9th there, Drew, and I think that just indicates how many trucks we do have damaged. You see the 23 machine right there of Travis White. He's going to fall 2 laps down right now, but the 971 of Nathan Maurer tucked up right behind the 26 machine of JT Poole. Of course, Poole not one of the playoff drivers here in this race, the chase drivers, I should say, here in the Simbox Chase, but he's shown a lot of speed and is currently out front of the race here on lap number 29. And Drew, we've had a couple of cautions here in the early going, but with so many cars with damage, you would think now that perhaps some of these drivers are just going to start thinking about it in the back of their head that, you know what, I just need to start racing things cleanly, especially with how much net code we've seen tonight.
Yeah, you know, these speeds and the way this track races is certainly going to promote this type of racing where you are in close proximity two trucks around you. But that we've seen what can happen when there's that many vehicles that close together. Especially at a track like Michigan, where you are kind of at the tire limit of providing grip, right? Around these corners, it's not an easy flat situation like it is at Talladega and Daytona. You're asking a lot of these trucks to do that and race side by side in the way that these guys were. And when you're doing that, when you're placing your truck in those positions, and then other guys make a move around you, you're ultimately not going to be able to change direction as quickly as you might need to avoid those incidents. Kind of probably like we saw with the 98 truck, right? He probably going into turn one didn't have the freedom to kind of maneuver that truck to get it out of harm's way as he needed. But our top two now starting to gap James Lorello a little bit in that 9 truck as we look further on back. Chris Darling slowly making his way up through the field, but I think having those guys, those trucks around him with a little bit of damage, making that task a little easier for Darling as he will get by the 82 of Adam Dama right there through 3 and 4. Now on the back bumper of Josh Sobel. But trucks like the 49 in front, there are still some trucks that maybe aren't completely up to pace, though I think in Mitchell Adams' kind of defense, I think being in this draft pack's probably going to help that 49 truck, as we do have some racing further on back in the pack. That 50 truck of Bill Edwards, does that 50 truck have any damage, Peter? I can't remember if he got involved in anything.
Yeah, the number 50 does. You're looking at him right there, and you don't see a lot of damage on the front end, Drew. That's usually the good news, but he does have some damage on the back end of that number 50. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a close-up here. You see that front end looks nice and clean. That's good. That's going to be good, at least for the aerodynamics, but you can see that rear spoiler is kind of crinkled in a little bit. It's not looking quite square on the back end of that number 50. So Bill Edwards, I'm sure he's got as much damage repaired as possible. As you see the number 6 machine going to his outside. And as I say, go to the outside. How about go to the middle in the Louisville Cardinals number 6 machine? That Ford F-150 trying to squeak his way now up through into the top 10. And I gotta say, out of all the drivers in the field here tonight, Drew, that number 6 machine so far has been the luckiest. Remember, he was almost turned up into the wall in that accident there with Jason Gracias and the number 23 machine just a little while ago. And somehow, through iRacing pinball physics, he was able to get that truck straightened up. Fantastic save. And here he is knocking on the door for a top 10. Of course, one of the Chase drivers needing a big race here tonight as we work lap number 34 here at Michigan International Speedway. But look at Chris Darling and look at Philip Scott in the 44 machine trying to go 3 wide here for second, trying to get underneath the number 9 machine of Lorello. But Drew, one thing about Philip Scott that we've seen this season is that he's very, very fast, short in the run, but has a tendency to burn up his stuff. Something to keep an eye on is that inside line did not work out for him as he slides all the way back now down to 7th, from 2nd to 7th in about 3/4 of a lap.
Yeah, and that really worked out for Darling as he managed to pick up 2 positions in just 1 corner. That 47 truck really, really working well. I think we're seeing what those fresh tires can really provide. That's not much of a difference, that 47 truck compared to the field, but he does have the newest tires of any of these drivers up here, and I think that's allowing him to place that 47 in positions that those older tires probably wouldn't allow you to get away with. And now we're seeing that 47 move all the way up into 2nd position. Of note, JT Poole was our leader, heck, 2 laps ago now, and now he is falling outside of our top 5 in 6th position. So quite a dramatic fall for that 26th from the race lead, now down to 7th as the 13 truck will get by him. But Nathan Maurer, a guy we definitely haven't talked enough about in that 971 truck, started in 12th, our current race leader. But for how long we shall see is that 47 truck now looking to make a move for the race lead. Chris Darling goes low through 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to be carrying quite a bit of momentum, clearing that 971 by the mid corner. And there we go, Chris Darling, once again our race leader here on lap 36.
Yeah, and they're side by side right behind him. And oh man, that was tight back there between Jordan Scheffler and I think whoever that was behind him, maybe the 77 of Doug Neal, the 26 machine of JT Poole, as you see Maurer and Lorello try to sort things out between him. Now looking a little bit further back. Oh, the 13 machine of Schepler into 26 of Poole. Can Poole keep? No, he cannot keep it off the wall. That answered the question right there. We stay green as that was off the racing surface. But the 26 of JT Poole and the 13 of Jordan Schepler, both of those trucks receiving damage. Let's go back and catch that one here on the 3-wide TV replay. But that was one very big moment for these drivers. Here we go on board with Poole.
It looks like from the chase camera, actually the 77 just might have touched him. Looks like the 26 got tight. Oh, he got tight out of the corner, and then when he let off to avoid the truck to his outside, that 13, it looks like the 77, see right here, he gets tight, he lets off, the 77 tags him a little bit, unsettles that 26 truck into the 13, and then ultimately the 26 of JT Poole pounds the inside wall, and that left front is torn up on that 26, and I would be surprised if he is able to repair that truck to a competitive state. As he has fallen way back, but fortunate not to bring out a caution for the rest of the field, but certainly unfortunate for that 26 truck.
Yeah, he's on pit road, and I think he came in really hot in the sim shot number 26 machine. He's going to try and come down to find his pit crew with that damage there, Drew. I'm wondering if iRacing was giving him what we call the meatball flag, and he's able to get in his pit crew. A little bit of a new look on that 26 machine here tonight. Definitely not going to get the finish that he wanted to. Meanwhile, back up at the front of the field, there is Chris Darling up to about a 1-second lead. Biggest lead we've seen all night long here, Drew. Possibly due to the fact that he does have the freshest tires inside the top 5. As I say that, now Josh Sobel has cracked the top 5 in the number 30 machine. He pitted on the same lap as Chris Darling, so I'm a bit surprised here, Drew, but seems like 6-lap difference on tires between the 30 of Sobel and the 47, the 30 of Sobel and the 47 of Darling and the rest of the trucks around him. It seems like that is actually very important here tonight. A little bit surprising with how these trucks are racing. You see Sobel here trying to duck to the inside of the 971 and Maurer as they start to get a little bit tight between them. They're going to sort things out, so move Josh Sobel up into the top 3. I know Rich Sobel will be very excited to see his son running up there on the podium as of right now, but Maurer now going to come under fire from the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman. And Drew, so far so good for Andrew Himmelman in his recovery after being spun there and in the first 15 or so laps.
Done by our current race leader, no less, as those two got together out of turn 4. Luckily, turned the 4 truck fairly harmlessly into the infield grass on the front stretch. No contact of note, really, right? I mean, it was just a slight between those two drivers, but a nice recovery for that 4 truck, as he has done a really good job placing himself in some good positions. As the 971, the 77, several drivers coming onto pit road here on lap 41. Now, we do have small fuel tanks, and these guys are wide open, but I think this has surprised me a little bit here, Peter, that guys think that their pit window's open.
Yeah, at the top of the screen, folks, you got laps since pit, so you can kind of see how many laps it has been since these drivers were last on pit road. So that's just going to give us an indication. Lorello, Himmelman, they both have 23 laps since they were last on pit road. And if they're starting to be in their window, we'll see if the number 9 machine peels off. He is really low on the racetrack. Indeed, it looks like he's coming down right there below the white line. Looks like Darling's going to short pit as well. You see, whoa, the 4th machine there of Himmelman getting all up out of shape. That's not what you want to see. Hopefully he was able to get things woed up in time. Let's see if we can go on board with the number 4 machine, because that was a very scary pit road entrance here. Drew, talk us through it.
Yeah, you see he's off the apron, and you're still trying to carry as much speed as possible. And you see as the banking falls away from that truck and he's getting on those brakes really hard, that it kind of just de-wedges the car and just starts to over-rotate under braking, which is the worst case scenario really for these trucks. We shall see if he had a penalty. I think he just might have gotten away with it. In that 4, he did kind of go through his pit box a little bit, but we will see. I don't know. That looks like it's a pretty long hold there, Peter.
Yeah, that's a definite speeding penalty on the number 4 machine. That is going to be very interesting to see how he can now overcome that one, as he now is going to be stuck a lap down, that's for sure. Here at Michigan International Speedway, iRacing does not take too kindly to pit road speeding penalties. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, it is still Bill Edwards that is continuing to lead, as well as Jason Freeman. I think these were a couple of the drivers who pitted with Chris Darling, and really I think Darling short pitted there. He could have gone about another 6 laps or so, but it does seem around about 23, 24 laps, Drew, is the magic number here tonight at Michigan International Speedway.
And looking at Bill Edwards here in that 50 truck, definitely not the race that I think that I was expecting from this 50. This is kind of the track that I assumed would really do well for that 50 truck, as unfortunately I think that early damage just kind of forced him into a position in which it's going to be really, really difficult for him to compete with his teammate, James Lorello, the guy that has led so many laps here. But he is our current race leader. He is staying out, so we'll see. Maybe this strategy of staying out a little bit longer, maybe that will have some long-term implications as far as his ability to compete for this race win, as Jason Freeman is the next truck behind him on the lead lap. So what you're seeing, that 82 truck not on the lead lap. I believe that's the 26 truck. Obviously, he is not on the lead lap, having seen that incident. It's actually that 4th truck in line, that black truck, the 94 of Jason Freeman. He is the truck that Bill Edwards is racing, along with TJ Buck in that very, very, very visible red and blue truck, about 2 seconds behind Bill in the 50. So those are the guys right now that are staying out, continuing to stay out, as the 28 of Jamar Dumas with a fairly beat-up Texaco Haviland truck, and almost gets into the pit. He almost got into the pit. Well, that was a creative pit entry there, Peter. I would say 10 out of 10 style points.
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to angle it in one way or another, and he was able to do that there. How about Michael Mooney bringing the sponsor for tonight's Lightspeed Technologies 250 and that number 88 RC Colette Ford F-150 here going down the backstretch, currently sitting in the 3rd position, and looks like maybe Jason Freeman actually just took the race lead away from Bill Edwards, as we expect to see these two on pit road very shortly. In fact, I think we're going to see both of them on pit road right now. How about that? Commentators actually getting something right for once here on 3 Wide TV. So we'll have to see how everything kind of cycles on through here, Drew. Is Jordan Scheffler in the number 13 machine also coming down. You see Michael Mooney there. On your right-hand side of your screen, looks like Steven Doziak, as well as it's the 41 on the side of that car, but that's actually Garrett Gleason in the 907 with that 41 truck here tonight. So doing a little bit of incognito driving, if you will, is the Monty Glover there in the number 10 machine. He's got some damage on his machine. That's definitely not exactly what you want to see. With all that damage, you see Monty Glover right there as we're on board the back of the number 98 machine, Jason Gracias, who I don't think he'll be getting back out. In fact, I think that was him just leaving the session. So definitely going to be a tough night for a couple of these drivers. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, things have cycled on through, and Nathan Maurer has got himself back up to the front with Chris Darling, who had a clean pit for once. Definitely good to see, and I think it's worthy of a kazoo for Chris Darling. That's his incentive, folks. It's not a very good incentive. I know you typically, you give your dog a treat or something, but that number 47 machine, he gets a kazoo when he does good things. So let's give him a kazoo, and that's the kazoo, folks, for the number 47 machine. We get one. We'll see how many more we get here tonight as we close in on the halfway mark. Lap number 50 this time by. So these drivers finally starting to kind of click them off here, Drew, and really the field has spread out quite considerably now with these pit stops, but a great pit stop out of everyone in the field. Great pit stop by the 77 machine of Neil.
Yeah, an exceptional job. And as far as the kazoo's concerned, maybe we can Pavlov train Chris Darling into nailing his pit stops, right, with that kazoo. Who knows? Maybe every time he hears it, he'll think, "Oh, I got to nail my pit stop." So maybe we can do some training, so to speak, as you mentioned, with that 47 truck. But yeah, a great pit stop by Doug Neal, a really good pit stop by the 971 of Josh Sobel, right? About a 5-6 car field right here. Unfortunately, that Ford truck not on the lead lap, 1 lap down due to that infraction that we saw with him getting out of shape, a little too quick on pit entry. A penalty, and then that sees that Ford truck, our pole sitter now, the first car lap down, but still a lap down, running in 27th. He is that last truck, that mainly matte black truck at the tail end of this field, as James Lorello now making a move to the outside of the 77 of Doug Neal, with Nathan Maurer also trying to look to make a move potentially for the race lead. He's going to look high. I don't think there's anything quite there, but there goes James Lorello, and I think the 30 of Josh Sobel is going to look to follow him as Doug Neal's starting to get freight trained a little bit there by those trucks on the high side.
Yeah, we've seen that inside line not be very good here tonight, as it looks like the 44 machine. They're just coming off pit road of Philip Scott, and Philip going to be well back now, 22nd here, Drew, and I can only think that Philip Scott had to maybe do a double pit stop, maybe speeding on pit road or something in that really cool-looking number 44 machine. Not sure if you can do any detective work or anything on him, but of course he was up there near the front of the field a little while ago, and now he's going to be well back in the pack. Following up on Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 machine. You see him in this lead group, but he is currently the first truck 1 lap down, hoping to pick up a yellow flag here to pick up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, which got to give them a big shout out. We don't have a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award to hand out just yet, but definitely great to have them as a series sponsor. As whoa, out of the corner of the screen, the 49 machine of Mitchell Adams there getting a little bit out of shape. Let's see if we can go back and catch that one here on the replay. And oh, the 6 machine of Milliner there caught the wall coming out of turn number 2. Of course, that number 6 machine, one of the Chase trucks, as well as that 49 of Mitchell Adams. Definitely those 2 trucks now a little bit worse for wear.
Certainly not what that 49 needed to see there, Peter, as maybe a little bit more damage to Mitchell's truck. And this is certainly not the race that he was looking for with that 49 truck. I mean, running in 6th, which isn't terrible on track, but is just about 2.5 seconds behind a race leader. That 77 truck, as you see kind of in the background, has really started to fall off relative to these guys up front, as Chris Darling has established himself as the race leader. And once again, now these guys are all on even tires, but we're really seeing Chris Darling and James Lorello, not by a substantial amount, but separating themselves just a little bit, as now you see Mitchell Adams, who has reeled in Doug Neal, who is definitely starting to struggle in that 77 truck. We'll see how quickly Mitchell can make that pass on Doug. Nice little setup there, running a little bit high on the entry, but not able to get the run off. And I suspect that is a product of that front end damage that could make that trick very passy for Mitchell. But back up front, kind of a status quo there, as the 44 truck, who is another truck a lap down and who is actually going to be racing Andrew Himmelman, just got by Andrew Himmelman there for that lucky dog position. Not what the 4 of Drew Himmelman wants to see, as you're seeing the power of fresh tires in that 44. He is a lap down. He just pitted, and he is hauling them, nailing that thing.
Yeah, really what Andrew Himmelman wants to see is this 44 machine of Philip Scott able to get around the number 9 of Lorello and the 47 of Darling and get himself back on the lead lap the hard way, if you will, as he heads down the backstretch right there in the Total Nonstop Racing Dirt and Modified Series Ford F-150. And he's just going to sail it off into turn number 3 and 4 and get back on to the lead lap. So that, for now, puts the number 4 of Himmelman back in the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award position. And you see Chris Darling flash across the start-finish line here. And Drew, I've told the fans in the chat here before a little bit about my sim racing career. And I mentioned the fact that my first ever team owner, if you will, in my sim racing career back over 10 years ago, probably now 15 years ago, was the 47 machine of Chris Darling. and he gave me a break after I finished inside the top 5, racing with a keyboard no less, back in NASCAR Racing 2003 season. And I'll always remember my very first race on Chris Darling's team was right here at Michigan International Speedway. I drove a number 10 machine, which was the Valvoline scheme that Evernham used to run. And it was right here, and I remember working my socks off for that setup because it was my first race with the team, and I wanted to put on as good of a show as I could. I really wanted to say, you know what, thanks for investing in me. I worked on that setup day and night for like 5 days straight. And I was on a keyboard. Didn't end up winning. Didn't even end up having... I think I finished maybe inside the top 10, which was doable back in NASCAR Racing 2003 series because it had steering assist and whatnot. I think I finished 7th, and I was happy with that. But it wasn't a win. But definitely got to give a shout-out to Chris Darling right here for bringing me into his fold back in the day, back in the Highline Racing League, as it was once known. But speaking of the Highline... the 47 machine trying to hold off that number 9 machine of James Lorello as they start to close in on the back bumper of the number 42 machine of Barry Knapp running the Highline as of right now. And let's check in with that number 42 machine of Knapp because he has quite a bit of damage as of right now from a couple of the incidents here on the cusp of falling 2 laps down and getting really, really tight with the 47 machine of Darling. Probably a little bit... too close for comfort for Chris Darling as Barry Knapp sends it off into turn number 1 and 2. But that AC Delco Chevrolet definitely having a lot of damage from earlier incidents, and it definitely doesn't seem to be driving quite the way he'd like it to.
Yeah, certainly a close call for that 47 truck. I know I would have lifted right there, which wouldn't have been ideal for the race leader to lift at that point in the track. That really would have given a huge run to James Lorello, but it actually worked out okay for the 47 is he cleared the 42 with just enough time to start really kind of cutting it back down there late through 1 and 2, and he actually got a little bit better run off than James Lorello. But I was really expecting Chris Darling to kind of attach himself to the rear of that 44 truck once he got by with those fresh tires and try to get away from James Lorello, but he was not able to hang on to the back of that 44, and instead Lorello as the 44 is pulled away, has actually closed the gap considerably on Darling. And then we kind of see the rest of our top 5 right here as we are riding on board with our 3rd place truck of Josh Sobel. It is he, Nathan Maurer, and now the 4 truck, not actually our top 5, but he is once again 21st a lap down. But it is those 2 trucks that are our 3rd and 4th place trucks on track. And then you see that orange and blue truck kind of off in the distance. That's Mitchell Adams, our 5th place runner, as we are right now with the 94 truck, who has been incredibly quiet. Jason Freeman, he is in 6th position, only about 3/10 behind Mitchell Adams. Will he be able to start making some moves and try to look for his 3rd race win in his 4th start, which is a pretty ridiculous stat?
Yeah, definitely. Didn't seem to be Jason Freeman's night last time out, but definitely he's been very, very quick, and is going to be someone that really everyone here in the Simbox Truck Series is going to have to start watching out for as we close in here on the halfway mark. It'll be halfway this time by here in the Lightspeed Technologies 250 at Michigan International Speedway. Just over 1 hour since we started the broadcast here tonight and before the drop of the green flag. So it definitely seems like we've got those caution flags out of the way. As you see that number 94 machine just dive to the inside of the number 49, kind of opposite numbers right there, working their way through turn number 3 and 4. And we do have a car coming up pit road. Is that Nathan Maurer? Yes, it is. So the 4th place truck gonna dive off onto pit road. And Drew, just looking at my numbers, Nathan Maurer been out there for 22 laps. So we kind of said 23, 24 laps was the magic number. But it seems like here Nathan Maurer going on pit road after 22 laps. So maybe it's at 22 to 24 is kind of our pit window now that we've got a full green flag run-in, because obviously the 23-24 number that we had before was a little bit padded by caution. But what about the leaders? Will we see Chris Darling come down pit road? Yes, we do, right in front of Lorello. Lorello really trying to push it together. Oh, there's contact, and the 47 and the 9 machine. A couple of chase drivers getting together on pit road, and that is not what you want to have happen. That's going to be damage for your top two.
Yeah, that is, I think, pretty terminal damage there for that 47. Looking at these guys coming onto pit lane, the 9 of James Lorello certainly takes the more aggressive line, and I think kind of just cuts down on the 47. I think that 47 is entitled to his line coming onto pit road. That is kind of one of the big no-nos, actually, coming onto pit road, is trying to make that double wide onto pit lane, especially in real life, right, where that type of incident could get people seriously injured. Luckily, we do not have that in the sim, but I think it's still one of those things that I try to carry over in real life is to not cause something like this, which I think, unfortunately, Chris Darling got really the worst of. Is, you see, that's the contact right there that really knocked in the right front fender of that 47 truck. And I think that this has really crippled the 47's ability to compete, because not only is his truck damaged, he lost a ton of time in that situation. And we'll see with James Lorello. I don't think he received zero damage out of that. I just think it was less than Chris Darling, but certainly unfortunate for both of those drivers and their chances for winning this race.
Yeah, we have seen Michigan here tonight really just chew up and spit out a bunch of our chase drivers. We're going to have to see how that affects really the two top contenders so far here tonight for the win. It could be advantage to Josh Sobel in the number 30 machine, because he was the third truck to come in. And what about the 971 and Nathan Maurer? Now he could be looking his chops at what could be a race win here as we are in the second half of the race. And I'm just looking here, Drew, at Chris Darling. He had a 66.7 second pit stop. James Lorello, 66.1 second pit stop. I think not only did those two trucks have that contact, I think both those trucks ended up speeding on pit road because they were held in their pit box for 50 seconds, and that is the iRacing hold time. So they could have just thrown away their shot at a win just by speeding on pit road. This racetrack here tonight really playing out to be very tough for all of our chase drivers.
I'm kind of confused. I'm seeing the 30 back on pit road here as well, Peter. So did the 30 get a penalty?
Well, that's very possible. He's in his pit box right now, still sitting there, and definitely is very confusing to see him on pit road. He's still sitting in his pit box. This is a very lengthy stop for Josh Sobel. We were just saying how it could be advantage Sobel here, but yeah, definitely still sitting in his pit box and losing a ton of time. He's been in his box now for 30 seconds, and it was 2 laps ago that he was last on pit road. So really, this whole race has been turned on its head with this single round of pit stops. Jason Freeman currently up at the top of the board. He's yet to come down and make his pit stop. First driver who has made a pit stop under this round is Nathan Maurer in the 971 machine. And behind him, Mitchell Adams in the 49. Your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion is now Jason Freeman going to pull onto pit road. Hopefully he can get down to pit road speed. Same thing with the number 50. Bill Edwards running in behind him. Jordan Scheffler there in the 13. Michael Mooney there. Mr. Moondog 88 coming in. Doug Neal coming in the 77 machine. And something must have happened to that 77 because that Simbox truck there, Drew, looking a little bit more damaged than I seem to remember it been.
Yeah, we saw him struggling for pace towards the end of that, or actually, like, really towards about the halfway mark in that last green flag run. And yeah, something happened to that 77 truck because he certainly is not having a nice, clean truck like it looked like he had before. This 44 truck of Philip Scott, this interesting strategy, it certainly kept him out of trouble relative to guys around him as he was hauling the mail there earlier. But now we're seeing the 9 of James Lorello back out on track. I'm just looking. Yeah, I believe he's a lap down to Nathan Maurer right here. So this is not for position, unlike pre-pit cycle, right? Where this 971 and the 9 would have been racing each other. They are not racing each other. I believe the 9 truck is racing to get a lap back at least on Maurer, who is now cycling to a race lead. So that does put James Lorello a lap down, but the first truck a lap down to Nathan Maurer. So we shall see if we get a caution. The 9's race isn't completely done. But what kind of toll is that left front damage having on that number 9 truck? As now we see Josh Sobel there in the background as well, but I believe that 30 has fallen multiple laps down now. Yes, 2 laps down. Running in 22nd is that green truck right there in the background. But what can James Lorello do? Because Nathan Maurer now has a 5.6 second lead on Philip Scott, a 7-second lead on Mitchell Adams, and a 10-second lead on that 94 truck. So Nathan Maurer in a really good position right now in that 971, and working with this 9 actually would really, really help him. If this thing continues to go green, I think that 971's in a really good position here, Peter.
Yeah, without a doubt. Rich Sobel in the chat asking about Josh Sobel in his truck, and the only thing I can think of is that Josh Sobel accrued a pit road speeding penalty on pit exit. If you get a pit road speeding penalty on pit entry, you don't have to come back to pit road. You just have to sit in your pit box for the stop and hold. But if you speed on pit road exit, or you blend above the pit line there on the backstretch, there's a specific cone that you cannot blend up onto the racing surface. In fact, you'll probably see a little blue cone. You saw it right there flash across the screen. If you blend back on the racing surface for that, iRacing will bring you on pit road and hold you in the pits once again. So either that number 30 received speeding off pit road, or he blended up onto the racing surface too early. One of those two things happened to Josh Sobel, and he is currently 2 laps down, although it would be good if he can get one of these laps back. As you can see, he's just a couple of trucks behind the 971 of Nathan Maurer, and if he can get one of those laps back the hard way, get around him, that will at least put him in contention for a lucky dog if we were to get another couple of cautions here prior to the end of the race. But Drew, we've been now a green flag for about the last 40 to 50 laps, which is good to see. But we have about 50 laps to go. Be 51 to be exact this time by. These
laps in this race have really been clicking off as of late, with Nathan Maurer in a really solid position. Mitchell Adams, considerably behind him, and Nathan just hasn't made the mistake that his competitors have, right? We saw the 9 and the 47 get together. The potential penalty or the issue, regardless of penalty, for that 30 truck, and those were 3 out of our top 4, right? Those were 3 out of the 4 trucks in that top pack, that front pack. As it's been remarkable to see guys' race just kind of get thrown away through penalties and their own mistakes coming onto pit road. But I'm not really sleeping on Mitchell Adams. He was about 6 seconds back earlier. Now he's 5.4 seconds back. That's a massive, massive gap to close, but it's certainly not undoable by that 49 truck. And with the way the iRacing timing and scoring works, sometimes it can be a little misleading on the closing gaps that these trucks see. But I think that 971 probably just saving his stuff a little bit. Now looking at Mitchell Adams, who is, I believe, drafting the 4 truck in front of him, who is undamaged, just got that penalty as we saw him make a mistake coming onto pit road. And so I think what that 49's doing is just really having a good solid run drafting behind him. So yeah, you saw that last time by. Mitchell Adams a second quicker than Nathan Maurer, and that's kind of odd. I really wouldn't expect that unless their pit stops are a little off sequence, but I'm not quite sure going on there, Peter, about their pit stops. But once again, Mitchell Adams about another 7-8 tenths of a second quicker than Nathan, and he's really closing that gap now. 3.6, but we have a caution.
Caution flag is out here at Michigan International Speedway. Let's see if we can sort this out for you. And oh no, I think this race has gone from bad to worse for another one of our chase drivers. Chris Darling in the 47 machine had that pit road issue a little while ago. The 44 machine of Philip Scott, and Man, I don't know if Darling there was trying to block him or what, but you saw Philip Scott was on fresh tires, and unfortunately for the 47 machine, that's heavy contact with the outside wall, Drew.
I don't think that 47 is very likely to continue with that amount of damage. Yeah, we're going to just take another look at it going down the front stretch. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, the 47 is a little bit low. The 44 goes lower. And I don't know if the 47 wasn't looking at his rearview mirror and was trying to set up a move on the slower truck in front of him, but that's certainly I don't quite understand what happened in that incident. Maybe riding on board here will give us a little bit of a better view. So you see the 47 now start to approach turn one low. If I were the 44, I would have taken it high right there. But then the 47, I mean, that's just an odd entry, right? Given the 47's where he's running relative to other trucks. I don't know what he would do other than a potential block on a truck that he's not racing. I gotta say, I don't understand. But this does reset our field for the rest of these drivers on the lead lap. It gives James Lorello kind of a second breath in this race, right? He got by Nathan Maurer and is now on the lead lap, and so he is going to be back in this thing. So kind of a little reset here.
Yeah, and it's also going to play out with a fuel mileage race. Drew, 47 laps to go. We've seen, the 94 of Jason Freeman. Wow, that is missing your pit box. We've just seen pit road calamities here tonight throughout the entire field. Is Maurer going to win the race off of pit road here once again? There's the rest of the field coming out, but all of these pit road calamities just really stacking up for some of our chase drivers as well. As I do believe Lorello in the number 9 machine is going, was he the Lucky Dog Award winner? Not 100% sure. Trying to sort that one out here, folks, for you. Maybe it was Josh Sobel. No, I don't think it was Sobel. Sobel's going to be still one lap down when this is all sorted out, but definitely going to be an interesting one here if we have fuel mileage with 47 laps to go, this possibly deciding who's going to walk home with the win tonight.
It certainly is a fascinating series of events between guys having issues coming onto pit road, involving other drivers, involving themselves. The 30 truck, the 4 truck, the 9 truck, the 47 truck, all guys up there competing for the race lead, competing for the race win, and ultimately not having it work out. But here we have our Brookstone Lucky Dog, Brookstone Animal Lucky Dog Award winner. And I can't quite make out the numbers on that truck, Peter. Who is that? The 907 of Garrett Gleason, who's the 41. That's why I was confused. I'm like, who's the 41? I don't know who that is. But it's actually the 907 truck of Garrett Gleason. He is our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. I promise I will get that right before the end of the race if we get to award another one. But there you go, Garrett Gleason in 16th position. He will get back up on the lead lap, and I think we're going to have numerous wave around guys that got the wave around there. The 4 of Andrew Himmelman, 44 of Philip Scott, the 10 Monty Glover all took the wave around as we have one to go with Nathan Maurer as our race leader.
Absolutely. Well, with 46 laps to go, let's see if we can bring up the race summary here in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. 4 cautions for 11 laps here in the first 75 or so laps in tonight's Lightspeed Technology's 250 here in the Simbox Truck Series. You see the fastest lap here tonight run by the number 49 machine of Mitchell Adams. It says C. Adams, but that's because he's a chase driver. It kind of makes us a little bit confused up here in the booth sometimes, but 18 lead changes, I should say, which is very, very impressive here at this point of the race. They have 18 lead changes. Hopefully we have a couple more before the race is all said and done, because the pace truck is headed down pit road, and green flag once again in the flagman's hand, and we are back to green flag racing here at Michigan. Whoa. We're not going green flag for too long, because there you go. And the flagman waves the yellow flag. We got that whole ordeal right there. Man, boy. We'll have to break this one down, because it looked like there was a big stack up in the back portion of the field. Let's see if we can break this one down here, Drew. On board with Andrew Himmelman, and oh man, it happened up around Sobel, and Himmelman there getting some damage in that number 4 machine.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the 4, and I'm not seeing a ton of damage. I'm looking at all 4 corners on that truck. You see the stack up. Oh, the 20. It looks like the 28 maybe like fell out of gear or something, right? It was that 28 that just basically stopped right there. You see the 28. Oh, contact there, and then the 28 just like stops as he gets into the back of the 30 of Josh Sobel. But I mean, I've certainly been a part of more than one oval race where you get those huge stack ups by people just playing games, trying to anticipate the restart, and it can just lead to this, right? Where nobody wins this. And yeah, that see the 28 just kind of try to jump it, and then once the 30 just checks up a little bit, the 28's already closing on his back bumper, and then that's the kind of stuff that happens. Unfortunate for those guys, but I think really fortunate for drivers like Andrew Himmelman. I mean, he did get involved in that, but I think he would take that because he's back on the lead lap. There's just some really slight left front damage to that 4. And you see, that's not a big checkup from the 30. I think the 28 just was trying to, be cute and get a little bit of a run on him, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, you kind of see the 30 was rolling, although, yeah, he might have got on the loud pedal just a little bit too soon, and it was that little bit of an accordion effect, and you see Sobel's now going to have some rear-end damage. Now, here's the interesting thing here, Drew, is a couple of those drivers at the back of the field, we saw them take the wave around. So they got back on the lead lap under the last caution. Well, now the good news is they're going to be back on the lead lap for good because that caution flag came out so soon. So that might just work out to their advantage. Meanwhile, we are under yellows. It looks like Chris Darling is going to be the man picking up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award right here. There he is, getting waved around the pace car, currently being scored in the 20th position. So even though he has all that damage on that Stanley Toyota here tonight, hopefully he can pick up a couple of more positions, but that is a pretty heavily damaged truck after hitting the wall just a little bit ago with that contact with Philip Scott. So we'll keep an eye on Darling and see if he can charge his way back up through the field. But whoa. Speaking of charging, he's charging onto pit road right now, just barely getting it woed down. Why did I pan off the 47 machine? Let's see if he can find his pit box here on the channel. Everyone in the chat is rooting for this 47 machine. Literally everyone, right? Is everyone, am I right to say that everyone's rooting for the 47 machine as he's coming down into his pit box? And folks, he did it. The 47 machine did it. There's a kazoo. How about another kazoo? Hopefully this is the point at which his night turns around, because it seems like he really needs a good second half of the race. As you can see, everyone here coming to the start-finish line. That 47 is going to need to get rolling pretty quickly. Let's see if we can dial up Ben Mashburn really quickly here under caution. I know pace car lights are just turned off. Peter Short in the 3Y TV booth. Ben, you got a copy?
I do. What's up, Peter?
Well, definitely been a wild night. We've had a lot of cars with a lot of damage out there. Seems like cautions are breeding cautions. We just got another one, but here you are inside the top 10. I didn't even know you were running the race tonight. I thought you weren't going to run tonight, but you're out there. You really are, and you're really inside the top 10 in that great-looking number 24 machine. How's it going?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I told you it's all about surviving. I could feel it. This is going to be another one of those nights where you just got to make it through the mayhem and hopefully keep your truck clean and be there at the end, and it certainly seems like that's the case.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ben. We've got another restart upcoming here. Any strats to get that number 24 machine to the end of the race?
Same thing. Just try to give yourself some room between you and the next guy, and just hope nothing crazy happens, and we'll see where it finishes up.
All right. Well, hopefully that great-looking number 24 machine can end the race on a high note. Best of luck there, Ben.
Thanks, Peter.
All right. We'll let Tim get back to the action, because we have to see if we can get a green flag for more than a couple of 100 yards. As you see, the flag man now has the green flag in hand. He does that very awkwardly, doesn't he? But there goes the pace truck down onto pit road. We'll have 41 laps to go when we go back green here. We're just waiting for it to be flown. There's the green flag. It looks like everyone rolling pretty smoothly. Maybe a little stack up back there around the number 50 machine, but luckily we're able to make it off into turn number 1.
Yeah, nice to get a clean restart thus far in the 971 truck. A good restart on that bottom lane. The 49 not quite as great, though. I do think that the damage has to have some type of effect on that 49 being as visible as it is. But TJ Buck right behind him. Now the 13 truck jumps out of line, going onto the bottom to try to take the race lead from Nathan Maurer. That 971, you see a little bit of a slide job there almost from Scheffler in that 13 truck as he will just barely hold on. I thought Maurer was going to make a move back onto him, but those guys, old school, bumper to bumper drafting there down the front stretch as the 971 now breaks that, trying to look for clean air, doing that good, nice late apex move that you really want to see here at Michigan, though. Typically, guys don't like to run on that bottom lane too much, as that will really scrub that right front tire and really significantly increase your tire wear rate. I'm riding on board with that 971 now as TJ Buck looks to the high side of the 49 of Mitchell Adams as these the field, you can tell these incidents have had their effect. We're not seeing that massive pack that we saw earlier on as guys have just kind of slowly accrued damage throughout this race. Though about our top 15 drivers are within a second and a half probably of each other, maybe a second, as now the 971 truck takes it back low for the race lead. Looking back further on in the pack, the 44 truck, another one of those guys that got the wave around, kind of a saving grace for him with that crash on the restart, along with Drew Himmelman in that 4 truck. But back up front, yeah, Nathan Maurer looking low with Mitchell Adams and TJ Buck beneath him. Those guys looking to take away positions from the 13 of Jordan Scheffler. But we've seen that high lane be honestly the preferred groove, especially when passing guys. I think if these guys gang up on Nathan Maurer, he might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, we've seen that high line be so strong, but the good news for the 971 is he is on fresh tires. You can run a little bit lower on the racetrack on fresh tires than you can on older tires, but definitely that outside line still looking nice and strong. As you see now, here comes the 84 machine of TJ Buck. Great job by TJ Buck in that number 84 machine. It's kind of been around the 10th position or so, but through all the craziness that's gone on, now he's solidly inside the top 5, trying to look for 3rd place. And how about Ben Adams? Drew, we saw that number 5 machine in the wall very early. I think it was around lap number 10. That right side of that number 5 machine was all caved in. That crew has continued to work on that truck, and here he is running in the same position as the number emblazoned on the side of that number 5 truck. Although, as I say that, here comes the number 94 machine of Jason Freeman trying to take that spot away. And what about Ben Mashburn there, just kind of lurking in the 7th position in that DuPont number 24 truck. Great looking machine right there, as looks like Freeman gonna slide up in front of the number 5, working their way out of turn number 4. This is a good battle here just outside the top 5. But Drew, man, like I was saying there under that caution, these trucks, you would think that they might now be very close to making it on fuel to the end. I don't think we saw anyone come back down pit road to top off under that last caution, which is a bit surprising to me, because I think even, we might still have a couple of drivers very close on the edge. As you see up at the front, here comes TJ Buck looking for the 2nd position in the Captain Crunch Chevy Silverado. So it could be questionable for some of these drivers on fuel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be questionable for most of these drivers. I can't imagine that anyone's going to be able to go 40 laps here with the smaller fuel tank, but we shall see. At the very least, it's going to be probably not quite a splash, but maybe a little bit more than a splash for most of these drivers. But as the run goes on, these trucks slow down. Yeah, maybe one of these guys who topped off could potentially make it. I didn't really see exactly who pitted that last time, so looking at the counter up top, 14 truck of Jeff Price, the 50 of Bill Edwards seem to be the guys that are in a good position. Oh, but we got another wreck. The 24 of Mashburn, the 44 truck. Oh, quite a few trucks involved in this, and some heavy damage for that 24 truck.
And that is a tough break. We were just talking with him, and coming out of the corner right here, 3 wide, the number 9 of Lorello there in the middle, and they're just a nudge. And look at the 44 of Philip Scott coming up the racetrack. Andrew Himmelman in the 4, slaloming his way. We'll have to see if the 4 machine made any. Oh, he is toast. Man, I thought the number 4 machine was just able to squeak on through that, but unfortunately wasn't. Let's see if we can go on board with Andrew Himmelman, because he had a good look of exactly what went down here coming out of the corner. You see Mashburn there. I think the 9 of Lorello was expecting Mashburn to go up the wall. Mashburn there coming down. I don't think Mashburn realized he was 3 wide, and then just a few trucks there just kind of bobbling with one another. You see Lorello getting into it, and there's the 44 of Philip Scott. The 4 machine of Himmelman tried all he could to keep that truck going straight, but unfortunately for Himmelman, slam bam into the inside wall, and that engine grenaded. That really was not what you want to have happen here. If you're the 24 machine, we just talked with him trying to keep his truck clean. Same thing with Philip Scott. And I think that's going to be a day done for a couple of drivers, but at least for Lorello, he was lucky, was able to kind of squeak through that with minimal amount of damage. And look at Adam Dama there in the 82, the U.S. Army esports racing machine right there getting involved. Let's see if we can get an onboard look with that 82.
Yeah, gonna ride on board with Dama here coming out of turn 4. You see those guys just in such close proximity. Michigan's so wide, and yet they insisted in being in such close quarters with each other. And actually, the 82 did not squeak through there. He kind of IndyCar'd that, right, where they make a little bit of contact and get up in the air. That 82 actually is quite a bit of left front damage. But watching from the 4 of Drew Himmelman, he definitely had the opportunity to really get out of the gas, woe it down as that wreck developed, and he tried to throttle up and maintain the momentum on that high lane, and then ultimately put him in a position to where he couldn't really make an evasive maneuver that he needed to make to get around that. And that's always definitely one of my approaches. When I see a wreck happening, you know, if you lose track position, you lose track position. But if your vehicle gets destroyed, you're not going to be able to contend for the race win. So I'm definitely one of those guys that even if I think something's happening in front of me, I might cost myself some track position, but I'm not going to be in that wreck. But on the other side of that, sometimes if you slow down too much, you actually kind of force yourself into getting into that wreck as it develops. So hindsight's always 20/20, but for that 4 truck, I'm sure he wished he would have done that differently, as I don't think that 4 is going to be able to continue as he coasted onto pit lane. But looking at all of our guys coming down pit road, what are we taking a look at on this replay here, Peter?
I was just going to see if something happened on pit road, but looked like everything was nice and clean, at least for right now. The number 49 machine, Mitchell Adams, being scored as the race leader. Garrett Gleason, excuse me as I yawn. It is 9:30 Central Time here in the United States right now. But Garrett Gleason is on the tail end of the lead lap in that 907/41 machine. So presumably he will get the wave around here. I believe the 28 machine of Jamar Dumas also will be getting the wave around. He's being scored 1 lap down even in his current spot. So if he gets that wave around, he will still be 1 lap down. But at least that will get Garrett Gleason back on the lead lap. That will give us, I think, 17 cars on the lead lap. And unfortunately, Ben Mashburn has taken his car to the garage here tonight. That is definitely not what you want to see. Pace car lights have turned off. I was going to see if we could dial up the number 13 machine of Jordan Shepler, but we'll leave him to his job here with 30 laps to go when we go back green flag, Drew, and we know that is outside the window of when these drivers will be able to make it all the way on fuel. So you would think perhaps maybe these drivers thinking of splitting it 15 laps and 15 to the end. Could we see some gamblers? What are your thoughts, Drew?
It's going to be interesting to see. I think there's multiple strategies, right? And I think that each one of them has their own benefits. What I would be doing is pay attention to the guys around you, but I would probably try to maybe split it at the 1/3 mark, right? So with 2/3 of the race left, maybe with 20 to go, maybe between 20 and 15, come down, take right sides probably in a splash, because I feel like that's going to make a huge difference. But let's get to our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner, that 28 truck was the recipient that last time by. As the flagman holds the green flag in his hand, the pace truck's coming off of pit lane, and we are getting ready to go green as Mitchell Adams will lead the field to the green flag. What kind of restart will he get? Will we make it clean to this restart? Here we go. Mitchell Adams with the race lead with a heck of a restart there. Gets a little bit of a pretty as good of a restart as we've seen from those guys out there. As now we see Chris Darling in the 9 truck. Oh, and Chris Darling, a little bit of payback potentially for that 9 truck as a caution comes out.
Caution flag is in the air here tonight. The number 9 machine goes around, and I think Chris Darling expressing his displeasure for what went on there. We'll see. There actually might have been a little bit of contact on this restart. Here's the number 9 and the 47. You see the number 9 and the 47. They had a little bit of a disagreement there, I think, with the 47 going up. And then the 47 right here. Yep, that's a hard right turn. And the number 9 machine goes around. Lorello doesn't look like he's got all too much damage, but that puts us back under caution here with the 29 laps to go, folks. I think that one is pretty cut and dry, but for Lorello, doesn't look like a whole lot of additional damage on the number 9 Silent Syndicate Racing Chevy Silverado, but that is going to be an interesting one to review after this one here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. Mitchell Adams, your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion, up at the front of the field. That's going to get, I think, Jamar Dumas, the lucky dog, in the number 28 Texaco Haviland Dodge. I'm sure he's, or Texaco Haviland Chevrolet. I'm not Juan Pablo Montoya. That number 28 Chevrolet. I think he's going to get back on late lap. So I bet you he's glad he took that wave around there and pick up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award when this is all said and done. But wow, Drew, I wasn't really expecting Michigan International Speedway to race like a short track here tonight.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of revisiting that incident, I got to say, I mean, obviously it's Chris Darling's fault, but I understand his frustration with the 9 truck. I think that the move that Lorello put on Darling coming onto pit road was fairly unnecessary, and I probably would have. I don't know that I would have done that, but I would have been mad enough to at that move, because that certainly cost Chris Darling a ton, and it really didn't cost Lorello much, right? Like, he still had a chance to go and win the race, and he's the one who forced that maneuver to happen. So I understand that frustration by the 47 truck. I'm sure Lorello probably doesn't right now, but I think, at least from where I'm sitting, I would understand why he's so upset about that. As the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr., another Chase driver, caught up early in some stuff back out there on the track.
Yeah, the number 33 machine, I think he might be coming down pit road right here at the New Edge Auto Detailing Ford F-150. Of course, that is Jeffrey Johnson Jr.'s company. He is one of the Chase drivers, and I really commend him out here trying to pick up as many points as he can, trying to pick up a couple of positions, because in a couple of laps he will pass both the 42 and the 26 of Barry Knapp and JT Poole, respectively. Yes, that's what you say. Sometimes words come out of my mouth and I go, what did I just say? I believe that happens to other people too, but you see him getting a little bit of extra fuel here. Drew, we still think we're outside of the window where these drivers will be able to make it on fuel on just, their final stops. So we don't see many trucks headed down pit road, but we might see a couple of trucks, start to think of coming down if we get any more cautions. We just have to wait and see as this field continues to get thinned out.
Yeah, we certainly have a field of drivers that is substantially smaller than when we started, and definitely at some different angles from their fenders at different angles from where we started this race as well. But Mitchell Adams, our race leader, one of those guys that I kind of counted out probably a little bit early with that front end damage, because visibly, I mean, it's you would think he would not be able to compete, but he certainly has with Jordan Shepler, TJ Bug, Nathan Maurer, Robert Dudley, kind of in that 15 truck, kind of out of nowhere, right? I really didn't expect him to be up there, but I even with the drama in that last restart, into account, I think that James Lorello is still one of those trucks back there in 15th that we shouldn't count out. He's a ways back, but he's certainly not out of it. Looking now at the 14 of Jeff Price, the 30 of Josh Sobel. Sobel does have a little bit of rear end damage from that stack up, but we saw a ton of speed out of that 30 truck. So it'll be interesting to see if some of those guys can make their way back up towards the front, as now we're really starting to get down to the nitty-gritty here on lap 99, coming to lap 100 with taking the green with 26 to go here, Peter.
Yeah, once again, the green flag is in the flagman's hand. Hopefully he can keep it in his hand for the rest of the race. The pace truck is headed down pit road, and the green flag is finally going to wave for Mitchell Adams in the number 49 machine. Looks like a clean restart this time, as we're finally back racing here at Michigan. So far, so good as they head off down into turn number 1. TJ Buck in the number 84 Captain Crunch machine, running right there in second. And what about Nathan Maurer? He hasn't gone anywhere here tonight. Same thing with Jordan Shepler in the number 13 Mobile. Definitely a couple of those trucks here tonight to really licking their chops, I think, Drew, at possibly walking away with the win, especially with Buck and Adams, both of those two being in the chase. And we're thinking about 3 wide here coming to the stripe. They think better of it. They stay 2 by 2 by 2 right up at the front of the field. And look at the 15 machine. Drew, I don't think we've mentioned his name all night long, but Robert Dudley right there in the 15 machine now creeping into the picture of the top 5.
A quiet night from Dudley, but TJ Buck, kind of one of those guys that had some pace early on in this race, but kind of fell back a little bit as the race went on. But we're seeing quite a bit of pace from that 84 truck as well. But once again, that high lane definitely seems to be the lane that has the most speed in it, as TJ now kind of slams the door on that 971 truck, who is going to look high. Man, that was a little bit hairy given what we've seen happen on the front stretch from guys taking maybe unconventional lines through that part of the track. But now the 13 truck makes a big dive down to the bottom through 1 and 2, and he will take the race lead from that 49 truck. And I got to wonder if that damage right there didn't help that 13 make that move. We see pace from the 49 when he's behind other trucks, but I got to imagine that once that front end with that damage sees clean air, it's not going to really be as conducive to speed as when he's behind other trucks. As now TJ Buck's getting a pretty solid run here out of the corners. He's going to make the move low and try to get by that 49 of Mitchell Adams, as Mitchell now may be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, here comes TJ Buck right there on the inside groove, trying to pick up that spot, trying to do what the number 13 of Shepler did 1 or 2 laps prior, but not quite able to clear the number 49 as they head down the backstretch, still side by side for second. That 84 machine not quite able to get in front of the 49, and here comes Nathan Maurer trying to use that high line, Drew, that we've been mentioning has been quite strong here, as the 5 and the 15, they might have been having a little tussle between those two. There they are. Robert Dudley trying to pick up this 5th position to get him inside the top 5 in the number 15 Toyota. And Robert Dudley's one of those drivers. We've seen some good pace out of him so far this season. I don't believe he has picked up a podium, but definitely has been one of those drivers kind of on the periphery of your world. Wasn't able to make the Simbox Chase, but that number 15 here strong with 22 laps to go in the Lightspeed Technologies 250.
We're certainly closing in here on the late stage of this race, as we are not but a lap and a half now, just over a lap away from 20 laps to go. And, we're actually starting to see a little bit of a weather change with some overcast, conditions starting to prevail throughout the track. I wonder how that's going to affect these trucks. Typically not too bad in iRacing, but it can certainly change things up. But I'm interested to see, are these guys going to be able to make it on fuel? And if they can't, what are their different approaches to this pit window cycle? As, man, that 84 TJ Buck's just really working over Mitchell Adams. He just can't quite make it work. As you see that high lane, something we really don't see at Michigan too much, right? Running the full lane up off the bottom, especially through 3 and 4. We're seeing it really prevalent in these trucks here today, as it's understandable, I guess, given what these trucks are, right? Fairly low horsepower, momentum's everything, and that high lane certainly will help you keep those speeds up down the straightaways. As now they're lapping that 88 truck of Michael Mooney, whom we talked to before the race started. But that 84, the 49, the 971 even, those guys are the only ones that have been able to keep in touch with Jordan Scheffler. And out of the 13, we saw a pace early this season out of Scheffler in that 13 truck with a pole early on this year. But since then, it's kind of been a downward trend as far as pace is concerned for Scheffler. But today, 13, great job capitalizing on just, how this race has unfolded and guys taking themselves out of contention for the race win. Not what Scheffler's done. Jordan Scheffler able to put himself in this position to where he is racing for a race win here with just 19 laps to go.
He's led 19 laps tonight and almost clipping the outside wall. I think iRacing there might have just thrown up some sparks. He was so close to that outside wall, but don't see any visible damage on that number 13 machine. But what I was going to say is he's led 19 laps tonight. Nathan Maurer has led 21. Chris Darling has led 24. Chris Darling in the 47 machine has been parked in that truck, so he will turn no further laps tonight. So Jordan Scheffler here will picking up his 20th lap led that last time by, closing in on the most laps led here tonight at Michigan, which really proves your point, Drew, that he has been on a tear here tonight as we continue to watch the battle back behind him for second between TJ Buck, the 49, the 15 machine of Dudley, and wow, how on earth did he save that? Where's the number 5 of Adams? Adams is right there. We're going to have to go back and see exactly what just happened to Robert Dudley, who we were just singing his praises about a minute ago. Did he catch the outside wall here coming out of turn number 2? Oh, man, yes, he did. And there was someone, that's the number 94, Freeman. I don't know if Freeman did the same thing. Let's see if we can figure that out. But, man, I thought that was going to be 2 trucks going off into the wall. Here we are on board with the number 94 machine. You have Freeman, and you saw it right there. He made heavy contact with the wall. So that turn 2 wall still continuing to go out there and bite. And we'll definitely have to see how that affects the pace of those 2 drivers as this race continues on. We also saw the number 6 machine of Doug Milliner involved in one of those cautions a little while ago. There he is, as we have some takers now on pit road, including Josh Sobel and the number 50 of Bill Edwards here with 17 laps to go. Here comes Jeff Price trying to hustle it on onto pit road. And Drew, one thing about these drivers pitting here tonight is you cannot speed in your final pit stop. That is a massive no-no. You cannot miss your pit box in the final pit stop. If there's one that you want to get right, it is the last pit stop.
Yeah, of course, right? At this point in the race, even if you were able to get a caution to kind of nullify that penalty, it's not going to equal out, right? It just isn't. As now our third and fourth place drivers, rather, the 49 and the 971 coming down onto pit road. Will these guys take right sides? I would absolutely explore it, especially given how tight we've seen these trucks be. I think especially from the 49 truck, right, where I think that he is at a pace deficit, right? His truck is not as healthy as those around him. So I think I would try to do something to kind of make up that difference. And I think these guys are going to have to take enough fuel to where I think you should be able to take right sides relatively penalty-free. But we will see how long does the 13 and the 84 stay out. Are they going to come in this time by? I think so, yes. Both of these drivers take it's almost it's almost like they're a little too conservative on their approach, right? They're getting on the apron so soon that they're really having to put wheel into that thing to get it to turn left to actually make pit road, versus if you kind of give it a little more arc, you might come off the banking a little harder, but you get a straighter shot onto pit road. And I wonder if that's what happened with the 4 of Drew Himmelman earlier in this race, if he just kind of rode that apron a little too hard. But I think a clean stop thus far for both of these drivers. Neither overshot their pit box. Both got into pit road a little conservatively, but cleanly nonetheless. The 84, a little less fuel than the 13 truck, but I did see the right sides on both trucks jacked up, but I think that 13 took a full load of fuel, versus that is not the case with the 84, as the 49 cruises on by on the outside, so that'll put Jordan Scheffler at best in third position, though. Here comes Josh Sobel and Nathan Maurer cruising up on him. You'll see them flash by on the outside, though, as now looking at the 49, who will be our race leader.
Yeah, the 49 machine, although he does have Bill Edwards in front of him. Bill pitted a couple of laps earlier, and we've seen tires are important, so I expect to see Mitchell Adams close in on Edwards here very, very quickly and to make that pass. But currently your top 5, Philip Scott on pit road right now on the 44 machine, so that leaves Doziak, Dudley, Freeman, and Gleason, the 4 cars out there yet to come down pit road with 13 laps to go. Here comes Mitchell Adams trying to get past the number 50 of Bill Edwards. Like I mentioned, the fresher tires are so important, and looks like that number 49 machine is going to make that pass off into the corner. Now, the big question is going to be Mitchell Adams. He has this time by 3 laps on his tires. The car behind him, the 50 of Edwards, he has 1 extra lap on his tires. We saw how easy it was for him to kind of run down and catch him. TJ Buck, he has 1 lap fresher tires than the number 49 of Mitchell Adams. So he's, not quite out of the picture here, Drew. He's about 3 or so, just under 3 seconds back behind the 49 of Adams. So he has a lot of work to do, but he has 1 lap fresher tires to do it and 11 laps. Do you think he can run down the number 49 machine?
Well, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Looking at their lap times the last time by, TJ Buck a 41 flat versus Mitchell Adams 40.6, now 40.7 this time by. So no, I'm certainly not seeing any difference in pace, though. Was that 84 able to kind of quicken his pace up a little bit? No, lost 0.2 that last time by. So right now, Mitchell Adams in a great position as TJ Buck 2.5 seconds back. That is an awful long way back at 10 laps to go. Though our current leader, Steven Doziak Jr. in that 05 truck, then the 94 of Jason Freeman, the 907 of Garrett Gleason, the 15 of Robert Dudley, all drivers who have not yet pitted and tend to go. We'll see. I don't think any of these guys can make it, but who knows what they've been doing fuel-saving wise.
Yeah, we think they can go about 4, maybe 5 more laps before Doziak, Freeman, Gleason have to come down for fuel. So if Doziak can get a caution flag here very, very, very shortly, that could work out in his favor. But at least for right now, as long as we stay green, Doziak will not have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race in that Chevrolet Silverado. But at least for right now, getting that Total Nonstop Racing Chevrolet out front here in the Lightspeed Technologies 250 here in the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series. Folks, it has been one wild night with a major championship Incas all the way around this racetrack. There has been accidents, trucks smashing into one another, and somehow our top 3 as of right now are not yellow. They are not chase drivers, but then you have Adams, Edwards, and TJ Buck there. Nathan Maurer kind of splitting the 5th and 7th place, Edwards and Buck. But then you have Adams, Lorello, Milliner, and Price. But then you have a couple of the other chase drivers not having the night they were hoping for here tonight, as it has been one crazy night. Let's see if Doziak Jr. starts to peel off. I'm looking at times between some of the other drivers out there. And I think we got to keep our eyes on the 971 and Nathan Maurer. There he is. He's actually caught the number 50 of Edwards. He caught the number 13 machine of Schepler. And these two right here battling it out. But as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, between Adams and Maurer, it's still up above 3 seconds there, Drew. So seems like Adams right now the odds-on favorite to walk away with the race win once Doziak, Gleason, and Freeman finally come down pit road.
Yeah, I think it would take a mistake by Mitchell right now, but we got to see. They were a 10th quicker with traffic that last time by. What does the 971 run this time by? A 40.5 to the leaders. Let's see if I can get my hand to cooperate with me. Not quite. I'm sorry, I got to pull this up. My hand doesn't want to work with me. So 40.5 compared to a 40.8, that's only 0.3. That certainly is not going to cut it. They need to, basically close by 0.8 a second to really have an opportunity to pass Mitchell. So if Mitchell keeps doing what he's doing right now, he is in a really, really good position right now. As the 13 and the 971 are battling side by side, almost a little bit of contact through 3 and 4 with our 2nd and 3rd place drivers as soon as pit stops finish. Those guys are racing really hard, which is not helping their chances to get up there and compete with Mitchell. as maybe a little words exchanged over the radio about that. Didn't quite hear, just saw the radio was cued by the 13 truck who kind of instigated that contact potentially a little bit. But these guys are really going to have to get their stuff together and stop racing each other side by side if they want to get up there and chase down Mitchell Adams. But the 05 truck, to my knowledge, not pitted yet. And, oh, no, he has pitted. My apologies. The 05 definitely has pitted, as now we are seeing on our timing and scoring, as Mitchell Adams now inherits the race lead with just 5 laps to go here, Peter. And do you think it's plausible that these guys are able to close in on him?
2.6 seconds. Drew, you and I know, you do the math. That's more than a half second a lap. I think your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion has this thing in the bag. If we can stay caution-free to the end of this one, of course, that is easier said than done. James Lorello able to creep back up inside the top 10. He is. He's actually battling with the number 6 machine of Doug Milliner in that truck. I'm keeping an eye on that number 6 machine because I believe Milliner... I guess Milliner is good to go to the end of the race. Yeah, doing my math. Yes, that number 6 machine of Milliner will be able to make it to the end. So Milliner there, one of the chase drivers. His name's in yellow there on the left-hand side of the screen, running right behind the points leader entering into tonight. And Drew, as this race goes on, I think it's only worth it that at this point in time, we need to talk about the point standings coming into tonight, because as you can see right there, James Lorello came in as the points leader over Bill Edwards. Edwards running a couple spots in front of Lorello, so he will close in. Mitchell Adams probably possibly gaining the most points here tonight. Chris Darling going to be one of the big losers. Ben Adams might pick up a couple points, but he came in just like 30 points back already. So, you know, you start to think about Mitchell Adams and Bill Edwards, both of those drivers having good nights here tonight, possibly picking up some points on the points leader entering the show, the number 9 machine of Lorello. We still have Talladega. That's going to be upcoming here in the next couple of weeks. So definitely going to be a lot to play for here tonight. This race could define the way this chase goes when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that we needed, or the field needed, the 9 to kind of have a night like tonight, which wasn't ideal. Unfortunately, a lot of those other drivers didn't have great nights as well. But with, like, Bill Edwards, right, he's going to gain a few points. Mitchell Adams, I mean, this feels like it erases what happened last week to him in that 49 truck. TJ Buck's going to close a little bit. Ben Adams, I mean, he's already quite a ways behind, but he'll close in a little bit. But even when James Lorello, like, a bunch of stuff's gone wrong for that 9 truck tonight, and he's still running in 7th position. That's a heck of a bad night to have for that 9 truck. So I think guys were probably looking around and thinking that maybe they could get a little bit more out of this, but it's going to be certainly difficult as Mitchell Adams now takes the white flag. Now, those guys behind him, though, have closed. I mean, it's a second, but if they could have kind of gotten their stuff together a little bit sooner, they've closed about 3 or 4 tenths the last few laps. But I think it's going to take, I mean, well, at this point, a huge mistake by Mitchell Adams. But if they just could have worked together a little bit more, I think they could have run down this 49 truck. But I think that's a tall task to have right now, is through 3 and 4, Mitchell Adams just taking it easy, not making mistakes, as we very rarely see that 49 truck make. Brings it at a turn 4, and Mitchell Adams will score the victory here at Michigan.
Yeah, that number 49 machine already a couple of wins to his name this season, as Jordan Scheffler able to hold on to second, Nathan Maurer third in that Simbox number 971 machine. Rounding out your podium, TJ Buck finishing 4th in front of Bill Edwards, Ben Adams. Lorello was able to hold on to that spot. Did Doug Milliner there just lost the position? Let's see if we can figure out what happened to Milliner there right on that final lap or so, going off into the corner. Jeff Price in the number 14 machine, a little bit of a Hail Mary in that number 14 to get around Milliner in the 6th. Not sure if Milliner was saving fuel or something, because he dropped well off the back bumper of the number 9 machine of Lorello, but Jeff Price able to pick up that 8th position there on the final lap, of course, as one of the chase drivers. That's going to be very important for him. And Steven Doziak there in the 05 machine rounded out the top 10 in what was a very wild night as the 49 machine of Mitchell Adams comes down to the start-finish line to burn him down. I'm sure after the night that he's had with all the damage on that truck, he is very excited to get to victory lane and get Michigan behind him, as I think a lot of our chase drivers will.
Yeah, it's been a rough night for a lot of our chase guys. Not for this one, though, as Mitchell Adams will bring home another victory in that 49 truck as he is looking to repeat back-to-back championships potentially for this 49. Is it'll be interesting to see how these points play out. It's going to be very, very difficult, in my kind of opinion, a little bit misleading to try to hand calculate the points as they run right now. But I think Mitchell Adams has obviously significantly closed in on James Lorello and is probably going to be right on the heels of that 9 truck coming out of tonight as kind of a nice little end to his burnout right there, as the 49 will bring home another victory here at Michigan. An outstanding job by Mitchell Adams to recover after that truck got some early race damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be a fun one here in a little bit. I'm interested to hear what these post-race interviews are going to sound like, because it was a wild night here at Michigan International Speedway. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV. All right, folks, welcome back to 3Y TV, where I've caught up with our third place finisher here tonight. What a wild night here around this racetrack it was, and a really great night for Nathan Maurer in the 971 machine to come home with a third place finish. And Nathan, I know we've been talking about how wild a night it was from up here in the booth, but what about in the race car? Because you were in it, and you're walking away with a podium finish here tonight.
Yeah, it was a fun race. Very interesting there in the beginning. I almost smacked Chris Darling. I don't know who dumped him going into 1 or coming out. In the middle of 1 and 2, he came down right in front of me, and I locked him up, and luckily hell of a save by him. But I think on lap 1, I think it might have been Gerald Baker, came right up in front of me and smacked the wall, and I locked him up, and thank Josh Sabel for not getting in the back of me. I had to lock him up there again, too. I was happy with the P3 though tonight.
Yeah, definitely a wild night, leading 21 laps here tonight. You had a lot of pace throughout the race, and we heard from Ben Mashburn, who unfortunately was one of the victims of one of those accidents there in the middle stages of the race, that he thought it was going to be a race of survival here tonight. And I know Drew and I were not expecting that. We didn't expect here tonight Michigan to race like a short track, but it definitely did. What kind of, in your mind, what was the reason for that here tonight? Was it the high stakes of the chase, or just the matter of the way the trucks drove?
I count Michigan kind of like a super speedway. I guess you could kind of say race like a short track, but I think the draft just keeps everybody together, and I think that's why there are so many wrecks. Yeah, I don't know. I can't stand this track. One of my least favorites. But yeah, the trucks kind of got tight. I don't know, not loose enough. I think they're almost too tight. Kind of like if you run the inside line, you get loose, but there was no looseness in these trucks, and I don't think they kind of drove kind of tight there about halfway through a fuel run.
Yeah, definitely going to be one that I'm sure a lot of people are going to look back at as one of the more interesting races of the season here tonight. But next week we go to Talladega, which I know is one of the biggest wild cards of the chase. Of course, you're not one of the chase drivers. You're trying to play spoiler. What are your thoughts about going to Talladega, especially with as wild of a night as tonight was?
Not a big super speedway fan, but I'm ready for the following week of Bristol. Bristol's my favorite track to run on iRacing, and I feel like I'm going to have a good chance there if I can stay out of trouble early.
Well, definitely that number 971 Simbox Chevy Silverado here tonight. Looked very good in the Simbox Truck Series, and I know you have some shout-outs to give, so let's hear them.
First and foremost, name on the side of my truck says it all. Simbox. If it wasn't for Doug, I would not be where I'm at right now. Sucks that he got taken out early tonight. Don't know exactly what happened. Oh, yeah, he took himself out. He's coming in the pits a little too hot, and I guess he hit the inside wall. And thanks to you guys at 3 Wide TV, one of the best race broadcasters there is, and to Justin and Chris Darling that put on this league.
Well, Nathan, congratulations on your podium finish here in that Simbox truck here. I'm sure you're glad to see Michigan in the rear, and I'm sure you'll be glad to see Talladega in the rear, but maybe we'll get to talk to you again this time next week. Best of luck at Dega, Nathan.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our third place finisher, and I believe Drew Eisenman is caught up with the number 13. A great run for Jordan Scheffler tonight, Drew.
Hey, Jordan Scheffler, Drew Eisman up here in the 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, a bit of a chaotic one tonight. You started sixth, you finished second, one of the few relatively clean trucks out there. How did that race go from your windshield?
Oh, man, there's some aggressive driving, especially up towards the front. I don't know if you guys saw it. One time I got spun out in the backstretch and fell all the way back to mid-20s and had to claw my way back. But no, it was a fun race, but a lot of aggressive driving.
And what do you think contributed to that? We kind of had some speculation earlier on that, kind of early on in these runs, you could make moves, you could try to gain track position, but as the run went on, it would be more difficult to pass and guys would start fighting harder to keep their spots. Was that the case out there? Like, why do you think drivers were so aggressive?
Yeah, absolutely. For the first, 10 laps or so, you can pretty much hold it wide open through here. But, I mean, as the tires start giving out, the truck really wants to tighten up coming out of turns 2 and 4. And so early in the run, you're just trying to scramble for all you can get. And then later in the run, you're just maintaining. Really just kind of at the mercy of the tires at that point.
And kind of speaking of late in that run, we saw you and Nathan Maurer really fighting for that second position and then really start to close in on Mitchell Adams. Do you think if you guys had just been able to kind of figure that situation out a little bit sooner that you would have had anything for that 49?
Yeah, me and Nathan, we kind of, I guess you could say, talked it out there at the end of the race, more or less. But no, I thought I had momentum on him, but ended up, I ended up burning my tires up towards the end. We did make progress on Mitchell. I know we both took 4 tires. Mitchell was on 2. If we had more laps, we could have caught him, but I think we were both just trying to get up there as fast as we could.
And tonight we saw, quite a few Chase drivers have some misfortune. You're out there, you're not in the Chase. How do you race those guys? Do you race them any different? What's your approach when you're around a guy with a C in front of his name?
I mean, really, I just try to run my race. Obviously, if they're running faster than me, then I'll give them the courtesy. But tonight, I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, try to go for the win. I know a lot of these guys had issues throughout the race. A lot of them got knocked out. But yeah, whenever you see a C around your name, it's kind of, you got to take the situation, what context you're in. So if you're running good, go ahead and make your moves. But I mean, if they've got you, just let them go by.
Yeah, and kind of speaking of changing your approach tonight, we saw quite a bit of pace out of you earlier on. A top 5 at Atlanta, a pole at Texas, in which you had an unfortunate early race deal, and then since then it seems like your form had kind of fallen off a little bit. Why do you think that is? And then why do you think that tonight you had more speed?
I mean, I don't know. I'm still learning on this. I've only had iRacing for about a year, so there's still a lot of little details that you got to learn just by experience. A lot of these guys, I mean, they're great racers. They're fast every week. So, I mean, some of these tracks I'm really good at. Others, I got a lot to learn. We hit a lot of difficult tracks throughout the mid part of the year, and then I also had a couple things going on. I wasn't able to put time the time needed into practice and everything. So that's one thing you just can't take for granted. Time behind the wheel, it really makes a huge difference whenever you go against these guys every week.
Absolutely. And, upcoming, we have probably your best race of the year that you've had was at Talladega. We got Talladega coming up, but at Daytona, maybe not quite the result that you were looking for. What are your thoughts going into Talladega next week?
Talladega, I'm pretty much kind of the same as this week. I mean, this is really kind of a mini super speedway. It's smaller, but it drives just like a super speedway. You got to be aggressive, but you also got to pick your spots too. Talladega, it's all about knowing when to go and knowing when to lay up, and really just getting lucky at the end. I know I had a good race last time there, but that's never guaranteed. But going into it, I'm just gonna try to be aggressive, and hopefully we're up at the front towards the end.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, an outstanding race for you tonight. I'm sure you would wish you got one position better, but second is absolutely an outstanding result. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all my family. They're all watching at their houses right now. Big shout out to my girlfriend. She watches every one of the races. She tunes in the y'all's broadcast. Big shout out to you and Peter. You guys do a great job. NSRA, Simbox, everybody that puts this league together. It's week in and week out. I mean, just awesome racing. So hats off to everybody.
And thanks for talking with us, Jordan, and congratulations on second.
Thank you.
All right, well, folks, that's going to do it for our second place interview here tonight. And, man, you can tell Jordan Shepler kind of saying what, we're all saying about how crazy of a night it was. But now it's time to get down to victory lane right here onto the front stretch. And the only one of the Simbox Chase drivers to make it onto the podium this week, your race winner, Mitchell Adams, your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion. Mitchell, wild night. You have a ton of damage on the front of that Chevy Silverado, which didn't seem to affect you all too much, which both Drew and I were pretty surprised about. So I'm curious to hear, what your thoughts are on that, but also really crazy night. Tell us about it from your perspective.
Back in victory lane. This feels good. Man, it started off really rough for the 49. Like I said, that front end damage, I can't see how bad it is, but I was worried I'd have engine damage, and I didn't seem to. I was worried I'd have aero damage, and I thought for a little bit I seemed a little down, but toward the end there, really the truck just came back to life and really didn't have much trouble with it after that. But yeah, I mean, everybody ran a great race up there that finished. We had a great run to the end. A lot of excitement I'm hearing about too tonight. It sounds like tonight was a very fun night.
Let's just say this is one of the more interesting broadcasts of the season with all the action that went down here in Michigan. And both Drew and I saying that we didn't expect tonight to be like this, and it raced like a short track. Really wild night, but it seemed like after the early hiccups that you were immune to it. Talk us through the kind of final 30 laps or so once we finally were able to get back green, that final pit stop, what your strategy was there, and ultimately what you were thinking about there with those two trucks closing in on you in the closing laps.
I mean, I knew from a while back, once I'd kind of figured how the fuel mileage would play out, I think I'd figured out I was going to take two tires on that last stop from about the last 30 or 40 laps to go. But I didn't expect that much of a run down. I think those two took 4, I believe. They were catching me really quick, and the truck it was really loose for a while on those two tires, felt really good, and then all of a sudden just swung super tight. And so I had both ends of the handling to deal with that last run. But the 49 truck was great. I mean, I couldn't have put myself in a better spot there at the end and managed to walk away with it.
Yeah, definitely a great win for you here tonight, Mitchell. And of course, you came into tonight, within a shot at taking away the points lead after tonight. Definitely going to be interesting to see once those the points tally is shown after tonight, going into Talladega next week. And of course, really Talladega is the race that we've been circling. Talladega and Bristol, the next two races have been the two races we've been circling, saying these are going to be the two wild ones in the chase. Tonight, let's add tonight to that. We're going to have 3 races in a row, including tonight, that are going to be a little bit of a crapshoot. Tell us about your thoughts of going to Dega next week in the chase.
I mean, I knew coming into tonight, because I knew Talladega was next week, I knew tonight needed to be a really good run. And so, especially with the early stuff that happened, I was really worried we were going to put ourselves in a bad point spot going into next week. But, man, it's just, this track ran differently than like every other time I've been here. I'm not a huge fan of Michigan, but I mean, it was fun racing. It was really stressful, a lot of side-by-side drafting like throughout the night, but I mean, Talladega's a wild card. Who knows what's going to happen? We could be wrecked on lap 1, or we could be winning that race. The Bristol's another track that just always crazy. The All-Star race was crazy there, and so definitely it's good to have good points nights like tonight to kind of help build a buffer going into races like that.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see exactly what the chase looks like after Bristol. I think we're going to have a very, or at least a much clearer picture at who is going to be contending for the series champion as we move into the final few races of the season and towards that season finale on March 12th at Chicagoland. But Mitchell, you know what? Somehow you have a lot of damage on the front of your truck. I'm sure you'll see it on the 3Y TV broadcast. It doesn't look all too pretty, but you're able to get the job done, and the checkered flags on your hood are indicative of where you finish here tonight in Victory Lane here at Michigan. I know you got some shout-outs, so let's hear it.
Yeah, shout out first you guys for broadcasting, and the league for putting on this so we can come out every week. Max Grafix, Taz Racing Customs, Brookstone Animal Hospital, Sim Racing Shirts, anybody else I'm forgetting. Thank you to my sponsors, Adams Racing, the Gazebo Girls, and anybody that's watching the 49 truck tonight. Yeah, just everybody. Thank you to everybody, and hopefully have another fun race next week at Talladega.
Absolutely. Mitchell, congratulations on the win here tonight. And like you said, we'll see you again at Dega. Best of luck, bud.
Thank you.
All right, well, folks, wow, what a wild and crazy night it was, but one of your chase drivers was able to finally get the job done. And Drew, it was the number 49 machine of Mitchell Adams. Let's see if we can bring up the final race results here in the Lightspeed Technologies 250 with Mitchell Adams taking home the win, Jordan Scheffler coming home in second. With those 4 tires, really ran him down, but came up just 3/4 of a second short. Nathan Maurer coming home in third. TJ Buck, Bill Edwards rounding out your top 5. The 84 and the 52 chase drivers. Then you have Adams, Lorello, Price, Milliner, 4 chase drivers in a row, 6th through 9th. And Steven Doziak down there in the 10th position. He also picks up the Taz Racing Customs, biggest mover of the race. Started all the way back in, I believe, the 31st position by my math. 21 positions gained for the 05 machine there, rounding out the top 10. Good job to Steven Doziak there, Drew, for 11th.
And Philip Scott in that beautiful 44 truck will finish in 11th position with Robert Dudley in 12th. Monty Glover in 13th. Josh Sobel, that 14th's got to be disappointing as we saw so much speed out of that 30 truck. The 94 of Jason Freeman, ever since his first 2 races, not quite as much pace out of that 94 as we saw that turn 2 drama happen for that 94 when he got into the wall out of turn 4 and out of turn 2 rather, and almost lose that truck. Garrett Gleason will bring home 16th with Jamar Dumas limping that 28 truck home in 17th as he had quite a torn up vehicle there at the end. Michael Mooney will finish in 18th, and then Chris Darling, that what could have, would have, should have been for that 47 truck, had so much speed, really didn't make a huge mistake by himself. Had that early pit road issue, but then when that issue with James Lorello coming onto pit road really doomed his night in that 47 truck. And then all sorts of drama after that, as we saw he will finish in 19th. And then rounding out your top 20 will be Adam Dama in that 82.
Finishing in the 21st position here tonight, Andrew Himmelman, and really almost every single one of the drivers on this page did not finish. There are some few exceptions. Ben Mashburn coming home in 22nd. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., he was able to get back out onto the racetrack with a very damaged race truck to limp home for 23rd, 43 laps down. Doug Neal finishing 24th. JT Poole, Barry Knapp, 25th and 26th. Colin Ullery, another one of your chase drivers. He ended up in the inside wall there on the backstretch in the number 62 machine, right there around lap number 45. Tough night for Ullery, and really not the start to the chase that he wanted after winning last night here on 3 Wide TV. It wasn't meant to be. Travis White in the 23 machine finishing in 28th. Jason Gracias 29th. Brian Bradley in 30th. And taking you through the end of your field, 31st, Ben Izenga. Matt Vanderkoy 32nd. Gerald Baker the 3rd in 33rd. And Ray Heilig and Justin White, both of those drivers just barely making the start of the race here tonight, with Chris Darling picking up the most laps led. If there's any consolation in that, and I don't think there's very much, but Chris, you did pick up the most laps led here tonight. But Drew, Dega looms next week. The big one, we saw a couple of big ones here tonight. That's going to be a fun and very exciting race. I'm sure everyone here in the chat's going to want to join in and tune in for that one.
Yeah, if you thought tonight was crazy, next week has the potential to be significantly, exponentially, perhaps crazier. There's not going to be tire wear. There's not going to be handling that comes into effect. It is going to be flat out door-to-door racing, 2-3 wide for the vast majority of the event. It's going to be exciting and potentially could completely change the championship picture. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Definitely going to be a fun one. Got to give a huge shout out to tonight's race sponsor for this 250-mile event, Lightspeed Technologies. Go check them out. Of course, Mr. Moondog number 88 himself did not have the finish he exactly wanted. Of course, that being Michael Mooney. But great to highlight his internet service provider, Lightspeed Technologies, here tonight at Michigan International Speedway with a wild night. Got to give a huge shout out to the series sponsor, Simbox. As you see it up there on the top of the screen, facebook.com/SimboxPC. Go check them out for all your button box needs, as well as all the other series sponsors, Sim Racing shirts, Taz Racing Customs, Brookstone Animal Hospital Awards, Lynchburg T-shirt Company, Max Graphics, and more. They really put on a stellar championship that grips people, makes them tune in each and every week. And with any of the drama that we had here tonight, it's going to be a fun one next week at Dega. Same time, same place here on the channel. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera package that we bring you every week here on the channel. But I got to say, wild night. It's going to be wild again next week. So until we meet again, folks, have a good night, and we shall see ya.